What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny and Reg for the Best Gaming Podcast 2024 year in review, discussing pretty much all of the good stuff, the bad stuff. We'll be talking about some of the awards we'll probably be given, our interpersonal, super, super popular awards that people are just hinging on, that will absolutely result in thousands of more sales because we'll be doing it. We'll be like, one of us will mention some obscure game. We will also be talking about some of the stuff that failed in 2024 and discussing sort of what we've been doing lately. There's been all kinds of different stuff that's been going on in gaming. There's been a hiatus for most of December, I think, where we've got to play some unique games or jump back into old stuff and or backlog, even though I don't believe there's a backlog. I think I've proven wrong on that point, but I still don't like the term of backlog. It's just company guilt. Company shame to make you feel like you need to go back and engage with their shit.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about all that, and I want to say thanks to these guys for showing up. Thank you guys for showing up. If you get a chance, I would love for you to stream or tweet out that we're doing this stream. I would appreciate it very much so. And that'll be it for us. Thank you, everybody. That's it for the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
We're done.
And
We're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. That's it. That's it. Reg.
That was efficient.
Reg got to go on a trip, but he also got to play some games and also got banned. So I want to hear this story. I want to hear the whole story. First, what game? What'd you think of the game? And then let's get the whole banning thing.
The one of the popular games of the moment, Marvel Rivals. Currently, I think at the 400,000 players on Steam concurrent, something like that. So definitely in the top range. I randomly got banned. I bought like the season pass. I bought $20 worth of credits the evening before. I was playing happily on the Steam Deck.
After you bought credits, I love it.
Yes. Bought the season pass. All was well. The next morning, I tried to start up the game again, and it's like, no, you've been banned for the next 100 years. So perma-banned, basically.
Perma-banned, yeah.
Cheating. And I'm like, what the fuck cheating? I was playing on my Steam Deck with nothing else running. It's like the Steam Deck. And I was playing a little bit before on my Mac as well via an what's it called? Compatibility layer, I believe. So it's basically Wine. So you can run Windows games on non-Windows systems. Contacted their support. They were like, no, after careful consideration, like YouTube. We still say no and goodbye, and also please rate our service like 1 to 5 stars. And then this morning, today's a friend of mine, because I had already uninstalled the game, removed it from the Steam library and everything because, well, they basically told me to fuck off. A friend of mine who was still in there in the Discord sent me the notice that they had discovered that their anti-cheat system had falsely flagged a lot of players as cheating that hadn't been cheating, and they did a mass unban, and well, I was in there as well. So I can play again, but I was affected, and support was as expected.
As expected. Useless. Yeah. Do you think you were dealing with the chatbot?
They call it like a chatbot, and it's an auto reply system, but it takes so long to actually get any reply. It's not instant or not even remotely instant. So I think it's somebody at least like looking over it and then selecting some checkboxes. I don't think they're actually typing out replies, but I think they probably sort it or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, the whole we've looked into it kind of stuff that also happens on YouTube, where
it's like preset text blocks.
Exactly. Exactly. And where I don't know how, like, because I ran a call center, so when you run call centers, usually you have a person investigate, then they do the block, but of text. But there's something about what's happened with YouTube and what happened to you, where there's a feeling that is not what's occurring, and that they're just there's no looking at all. It's just like it's we're big, right?
First, and then maybe a revert, maybe potentially, and probably more chance of a revert if you have like the publicity to get everyone.
Yeah,
same as with YouTube.
Yeah, dude, I don't get it. What's up, Sonar, man? Happy to see you, and always glad to have you jump in the voice chats lately. It's been awesome to have you around for so many years.
I've looked into it a little bit afterwards some more, and apparently the the software producer of what I'm using to play on the Mac contacted the development studio to inform them, hey, like our stuff isn't cheating software. It's just so that the game can actually just run normally on non-Windows system, and that's apparently got them to revert the bans and recognize the error.
So doesn't it feel weird though that we're at a point where the company, one of the biggest software companies in the world, can't figure out prior to the game going live that those compatibility layers exist, and that there is a Mac user out there that would want to play?
Well, usually you have to, from what I know from other systems, they also sometimes just decide we don't want to support that at all. Like you have to use Windows and that's it. And then on booting the game, it just tells you, no, it's not supported. Goodbye. Please play on an actual Windows.
I see. Okay.
But in this case, it booted up the anti-cheat system. Everything was green. You got into the game, no problem. And then afterwards, they were like, yeah, you cheated. Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah, dude, I don't get it these days, man. There's definitely something that goes on with how the support works where you can just tell it's not there, man. There's just no real support occurring.
One extra funny thing for me is that if you look into Steam forums and you have people reporting, or somewhere else, like I got falsely banned, literally everyone is telling you, yeah, you're a cheater, you're just crying.
Right.
Which is so baffling to me in that regard. And as a gamer, you know how many bugs exist in games.
Yeah.
And you expect the anti-cheat to be the one magical piece of software that
won't
makes no errors ever.
Yep. And look at me. I've told you this before. Easy anti-cheat is my bane. I don't know what's going on, but it's one of the anti-cheats that it legitimately won't let me play many of my games I want to play. I've got games for review, and I've 20, 30, 40 attempts of trying to play with the guys in multiplayer. Just clicking, comes up, turns off. Double click, comes up, turns off. And you spend hours trying to figure it out. And, no matter what, it usually it works for me. But, yeah, there's definitely issues there. The idea that you got banned in the result, though, is like, I mean, if I know you and this just happens to be random, it's like how many, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people might have been out there just having bought shit, like you said. You're like, hey, I'm going to celebrate Christmas by buying some stuff for Marvel Rivals. And they're like, well, fuck you. Thanks for your cash.
Years.
And they banned him. So what's that mean? And if you get banned, your money's gone, right? So let's say the ban they stuck with it. You'd never be able to get your whatever you spent.
I had started contacting Steam support in an attempt to get it back, but that hadn't progressed yet. And now that I got unbanned finally, I just canceled the ticket.
But by the way, what do you think of the game itself?
That's exactly what the next question was going to be.
So apart from that,
very curious.
So apart from that, I've only played about 10, 15-ish hours, so not too much yet. It feels like a fun in-between game. I'll definitely never, ever hop into the ranked mode. Friend of mine did and said he tried it once and he'll never return because it's just too sweaty.
Okay, gotcha.
No, I'm just there for the more relaxed part.
What did you find characters wise? Like who'd you like?
So I tend to 50-50 towards healers again, like usual. Mantis is one of the faves for that. Or Luna Snow, I think is the character name. I'm sorry, I'm not too good with superheroes.
That's cool, as long as you know what they do or look.
Superheroes.
Yeah.
The both of them pretty effective healers. Sometimes Doctor Strange. And
what is he? Is he a DPS or?
Yeah, I think he's on the DPS side, and he has a shield, so it's a bit more tanky. Same as with Groot, who's also like the tank. Can also build up walls.
Yeah.
But he moves very slow and has a huge hitbox.
Yeah, from what I played, I enjoyed the hell out of it. You and I were laughing for a couple hours about the shark and the goofy shit he can do. That kind of stuff's great.
The shark, apart from the event thing, I didn't play in the regular matches anymore. I don't know, not feeling it in the normal games.
But in the side goofy matches, it's fine. It's just like in the main matches, it's
not for me, at least. I know that people are managing to play him effectively, but
The game did gangbusters, man. It's good proof. I mean, as we've all said, service hero, blah, 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 online games aren't dead. It's like, but they do have to deliver something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Concord didn't, not to even diss on Concord, but just to give an example of one that didn't. Concord didn't, this one did. And it's fine gameplay. Snuggles plays it every morning that he's available. He's playing it in the Discord. I've watched him play for hours. Really seems to genuinely like it. It does appear to be one of those titles that there's somebody for everybody, which seems pretty cool. I feel like there's somebody for everybody.
Yeah, there's a fairly decently large roster, and all of the heroes are just accessible without it.
Is that the
Yeah.
main strength, do you think, that the characters are like well made and also fun and recognizable? Is that like the
Maybe not
main
for him because he
differentiator.
doesn't recognize
Maybe
him,
the
but-
recognizable part not too much for
Okay,
me.
yeah.
But definitely that you have a lot of different ways of play to pick from.
Mhm.
If you want to be the assassin and go close up, which is one of my most hated characters. I don't even know the character name, but it's going always in my face when someone plays him.
When somebody plays that character versus
usually
you.
died
Yeah.
to them.
I'm wondering if that's like Wolverine or something. Like, I
No,
wonder.
no.
No, you'd probably
No.
know who that was. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Fantastic Four, I think, is what's coming next to it as well, which, not a lot of, I mean, people will know them, but they're certainly not the most popular overall. They've also had some bad movies, but I think they've got a good roster of characters. It seems like there's always something fun to do. And, I know people don't like it, but I do like those characters. Like we talked about, the Jeffs of the world who go out there and stir your shit. They're like, dude, I'm going to rock your world. And there's something cool about it because it's currently somewhat unbalanced at times. And I love that.
It is,
I do
for sure.
like the broken or games that you really have to figure it out. You have to, how many of you won, would you say? Like, is your team, are you 50-50 on wins, like overall, or would you say, because there were a couple where you were rocking it, you said, and then, but I don't know if that continued. Or,
Well, it's also hard to tell because it does the Fortnite thing, which means
Bots?
that it does stuffs in bots. So
I was not aware. Okay, right.
Which is also like one effective way of why there are so many people engaged in the game.
Yeah, because it feels good for those people who want to
Yeah.
jump in and not get just
Exactly.
razzmatazed by some jackass who's been, hopped up on Adderall, just finger fucking
Yeah,
their
so I'm
keyboard.
not sure if the games I was rocking it in were to what percentage they were maybe bots or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really cool to see just so many people who don't even like, I don't hear them talk about service games much. I know you've played a couple in hero shooters for sure, but this one seems I hear you talk about this one more. You seem genuinely like, I don't know, there's something about it. Who knows if it'll last,
It's
but it
just
seems fun.
the matches are pretty snappy.
Mhm.
I think that's also a major part. You don't
How long
feel
would
like
you say? Like 15 minutes?
Yeah,
maybe?
10, 15, something like that. So fairly snappy. You
Good.
don't have the feeling like, I don't know, in a League of Legends match that you have to invest an hour.
Yeah,
and then
right.
maybe it still sucks.
Right.
No pause, League of Legends, your child's crying, you're getting arrested for child endangerment. You're like, but I got to get the center lane. Nah, it's cool, man. I've seen graphics, I think, look really good for what they're doing. It seems to run insanely performant, which is always, obviously going to be the best. And then,
Well, it also has like frame rate generations and stuff.
damn.
Uh,
Okay. Wasn't aware of that.
From what I know, though, there are some issues with frame rate.
Oh, okay.
I didn't read too much into it, but apparently there's a couple of heroes and a couple of actions that are bound to the frame rate in some way. So the higher your frame rate, for example, you can teleport a bit further. Stuff like that.
Ouch. That's not necessarily what you want to hear, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's cool because I did not know how good that one or bad that one would be when I first heard about it. And you never quite know, man. You always hear stuff from betas where you'll hear somebody say, I was in the beta and it's terrible. And you're like, all right, okay, well, maybe it's terrible. And then it comes out and it's like every single person loves it. And that person who told you it was terrible, you find them on your Xbox gamer tag list playing it for 48 hours. And you start to question what the fuck they were talking about, right? So now it's cool. Graphically, it looks good. It runs on everything. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, it's on everything too. It's all free. What are the customers or what are the costs then? Clothing, I'm
Skins.
assuming.
skins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ability to change the look of your magic or anything, or is it mostly body skins, like the full body texture?
I haven't seen that myself in
Okay.
the story. It's body skins.
That's cool, man. Are you gonna do it, Johnny? Do you think you're gonna play this one?
I might do. Yeah, I might do. It depends whether or not people are moving pretty quickly from it. Then I'll
Mhm.
probably skip. But if people stick around, yeah, I might jump in with you guys.
It's so fun. Oh, you mean if people like us move away from it?
Yeah, if like
Okay.
you guys in our sort of like Discord circles,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
if you're consistently playing it, then yeah, that'd be a big reason for me to jump in.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like new characters, because one thing you said there is new
Fantastic
characters
Four and
are
stuff.
coming.
Mhm.
Yeah, Fantastic Four. And that made me excited because they have so many characters they can pull from, right? Within the IP, or maybe even crossovers and stuff to
Mhm.
create some interest.
How many levels do you got in that thing, Reg? Like, was there any stinkers, or are they all mostly just either good or?
So
Throw away
what I've played a lot is the, I think, Conquest mode, what it's called, and that's literally just one map.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
that mode is just one map.
That's the like controlling the points,
no,
or-
it's just team deathmatch basically.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's I have a tendency. Yeah, I guess team deathmatch is usually what I do for the most part in those games.
Like you have to reach, I think, 45 kills as first team. Although the kills are with a little bit of extra stuff. You don't just have to kill the enemy, but also pick up the orb that they drop.
Gotcha.
And someone from your team can also collect it as well. That's denying the kill point.
Okay. And can the other team claim it again? Can the other team steal it back? If you kill somebody, can they grab it and like stop you?
You can kill someone and they can drop more than one orb.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Yeah, Johnny, I haven't played it either, but well, I did a little bit, but I can't say I dived in. I played like 5 characters, ran around, shot some guys. I sort of generally liked what I played, but
all right, I just read Solar's comment. Yeah, there's also the game mode where you have to move a card, and that one is rather slow.
Oh, like
yeah, it's the base
TFT.
same as in Overwatch. Yeah.
Sorry, Team Fortress.
Yeah, you just have to escort like a vehicle that's on the path, like on the track. And one team has to escort it to the end point, and the other one has to prevent it from being escorted to the end point.
Because that's what you think of Marvel superheroes, is guarding a wagon.
100%,
like Iron Man, Doctor Strange, going out there destroying realities, and you're like, dude, we got this wagon of rock. We need to get from one end of the quarry to the other. Can we get your help? And you're like, yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for.
That game mode feels somewhat slow.
Yeah, I feel like it would be slow.
By comparison to the rest of the game.
Remember, obviously there's probably something prior to this, but I think it was Unreal 1999 was my first experience with the assault style levels where there was something going on. You were going from one end to the other. I do like those style of things, but I don't know. With the superhero game, you would think that they would make it a little bit more modern, so it felt.
Yeah.
Didn't we also have that with one of the Star Wars Battlefront games? If I remember right, there was some kind of mode in those that when you played it, you were just like, what the fuck? It feels like a World War II game with a Star Wars skin. And then you realize that is exactly what that game was. World War II with Star Wars skin. So anything that you've been playing this last week, Johnny?
Actually, House Flipper. Been playing that, House Flipper 2.
Just wanted to make sure
you
we
did
were clear.
you did a review on that, and I just saw it on sale, and I remembered about it. I kind of forgot for the longest time. So I've been jumping into that. It's been a really nice, chill game. Yeah, it's kind of like power washing sim, but with the decorating layer, which is nice. So been enjoying that. And outside of that, not too much else. I jumped a little bit into Psychonauts 2. Been playing through that as well.
Nice.
It's a very solid game that I completely missed, like when it came out back in the day. So, and then I picked up Astrobot too. Like over the holiday, I've been jamming some levels in there. It's a really nice, feel good, wholesome game to jump into. Looks fantastic. But it's not the type of game that I play for a long time. I'll jump in, do a couple levels, and then tune out. But it's nice.
I mean, the fact that you said Psychonauts 2 is a solid game. Makes me want to kick you from the podcast. Like I feel like you undersold
Understated.
Psychonauts 2 so terribly. Man. But I
Well,
get you. I'm glad you're playing it. I'm glad you're
to
playing
use your favorite expression, to be fair.
God. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Here we go.
Yeah.
To be fair, I didn't get that deep into it, so I'm still like, early in seeing what it has to offer. I like it so far, though. It feels good.
Yeah, the eclectic, like really unique characters and locations definitely shows how long, if you watch the behind the scenes videos, they did, I can't remember, 40 or 50 1-hour episodes of the making of that game. They showed like people getting fired, hired, levels being crushed and removed, and people crying because the level they had, suggested 5 years ago was finally getting, snipped out of the game because they couldn't make it work or whatever. Really intense, awesome videos, and shows how hard it is to make a friggin' game.
Game.
Just how insanely hard it is to make a game. I've been playing a lot of Starfield, just listening to podcasts, doing Starfield, laid back, doing that, and then a lot of Hunt Showdown, or Call of the Wild. Sorry, not Showdown. I'm getting ready to do that next couple weeks. Just like it's been a quiet time. I'm playing some games to catch up for the game of the year. If I do a video, there's a couple games I wanted to sort of dive into, including Balatro, which is why I put that on the thumbnail.
Hell yeah. Let's go, man.
Yeah, so there was a lot of games that were easily missed this year. I was reading an article and they were covering like the top 50 sales. Those games I knew generally because of just, we're talking about them. But I started looking at a couple like journalists, or 2 or 3 of my friends have blogs where it's just their blog. They have like one reader of their blog, and it might be their mom, but they're all, here's my top 25 games in 2024. There were probably 19 games on the list I hadn't heard of. So that's what spawned the conversation yesterday of 19,000 games were released on Steam last year. 19,000 games on just Steam. So it's easy to miss them. There were a lot of titles that I had missed. Balatro isn't a small one that is easily missed, but it's one that just didn't get on my list. And it's been enjoyable. It's been very enjoyable. But there's so many like eclectic little games that's very difficult to tell if it's good or not. It's difficult to tell if it's not a cash grab, but remember we used to see a lot of asset switches. So you're like, is this cartoon game, is it just a front end for 15 minutes of fame kind of thing, and then it's going away? And I also was reminded of the shit games of this year, which includes the zombie game that came out in, I think, February, came and went, where it was the guys who had lied about a bunch of stuff. It came out and then they removed it from Steam. I think, no.
The day before?
The day before, yeah, the day after, one of those two. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I was just reminded of some of the stinkers this year. Like some of the titles that we got that were just like came and went, and you're all, oh.
Yeah.
It's easy to be like, oh yeah, this game's bad or whatever because it reviews at a 70. But it's like, dude, if you follow gaming, the games that really are bad are like that, where even Steam is like, this is a no-go.
Yeah.
Or Concord, not bad, but didn't nail it. Anything else this week? Let's see that we've been playing or doing. Trying to think if there was any other games. What's everybody in chat been playing? And then nothing much. And rewatching Secret Level, which I do want to talk about in innovations, I guess, for 2020. Maybe not innovations. Surprise of the year. That's what I'll say. One of my biggest surprises with Secret Level was good. I think that's... Yeah. I was not expecting game stuff to be good. I just wasn't. I'm sorry, but like I'm the abused child of like crossover stuff. Sonic obviously has done well as a movie, and but I also had to live through Mario Brothers when I was a kid, which was, dude, that game was horrendous. Or that show was horrendous.
Traumatic.
Yeah. It was traumatic, but
yeah.
Did you do
Iconic,
Secret Level? Yeah, it was iconic for that we lived through it. Did you do Secret Level, Reg? I can't remember if we talked about this. And were there any special ones that you did enjoy a lot, or
Pac-Man.
My least favorite. Okay,
my top favorite, easily.
because it was so out there.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Who?
Especially because the way
for
the
it.
episode starts, I thought is like, but it said Pac-Man, isn't that like
Right.
Odyssey?
Right.
What's going on? But no, it was Pac-Man.
It was somehow right. It was such a weird title. And who would have
so good.
thought, Reg, that a bunch of people were in a room and somebody said, "Do you know what Pac-Man needs? Lore."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lore. That's what we need for Pac-Man.
I love it.
Yeah, the animation was wicked on that, especially at the end. But it was so weird to me that I just had a hard time. I was just like, "What the fuck is?" And it's the thing where I continue to look at the episode title and go, "What says Pac-Man?" It can't be Pac-Man though, right? And then I'll watch it for 5 minutes, and it is for a moment. It is. Johnny, have you seen that one?
Yes. Yeah, I think I've seen all of them.
Okay, cool. Give me your thoughts on secret level Pac-Man. Did it do its job? Do you now want to go out and buy Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, packs for old Steam emulators?
No, I've never been a Pac-Man guy, but I thought it was cool. I like what they did with it, and I'll say the one thing they nailed is that they don't overstay their welcome with the episodes for me. Because just about when you start to get a bit tired, maybe, or it's like, you want something a bit different, it goes to the next one, and it's totally different. I do like that.
Yeah, I think I think the time limit for those worked quite well. There was one or two that didn't go anywhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I got done and I was like, that animation was great, but I don't really understand much of what I'm supposed to get from it.
A couple were like, the coolest part is about to begin, but the episode is over. It's almost like they're building towards this thing. I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a couple that felt like it's building to this, culmination, and you just never culminate.
Yeah.
That sounds...
if you said climax, it would have sounded worse. But
right.
Go ahead, Reg.
Yeah.
Good that you said it. The one I think was most complete and most game related was Sifu. Like that's perfection. That's one arc that's very close to what the game was.
Yeah.
And last night caused three people in our Discord beat Sifu due to watching that. That is an indicator. And as Johnny just said, sorry, Johnny, they did that. The ending moment, even Absy came back to the podcast, he came back to the Discord, and he was like, we were talking about stuff, and he's like, I just have to point out that like the aging mechanic and how it started and how it ended, that's some primo shit. That's and it's not like we couldn't have thought about that here. It's that they got the pacing right. The first death, when the guy's on his phone, he's like, I stabbed this, guy in the neck or whatever he says. And then you just are like two, Undertakers sit up and get up. And you're like, what? Then he goes and he has to fight in the spirit world. Everything about it nailed. And I'm telling you guys, because I always joke with Reg about, like, I'm not a huge anime whatever fan, but if they all look like Sifu, for Christ's sakes, I would not watch movies. I would just watch anime. I mean, it looked exactly what I would want a martial arts one in particular look like. That was, and it started calmly, which was great. That was the best part, is it started in a calm. It wasn't like, it could have started like a, maybe a Tarantino film or something where it starts with that action at the starting. Instead, they were like, hey, we're going to start with a little bit. The one I didn't like, man, or didn't really get, was the chess game. The Living City.
Honor of Kings.
Is that what it is? Honor of Kings? Yeah. And they have a chess.
Where they go into the building and it's all sci-fi techy and they sit down.
And they sit down to play Go or chess. Yeah. I watched it again last night, and I still don't know what I was supposed to get. I mean, I do understand the trick at the end, which I sort of dug, but I don't know if that one told a story. It didn't interest me in the game. It didn't tell a story. One that did interest me in a game, and I've read the book now, and I'm honestly super excited for the game in general, and that's the Exodus one. If you guys don't know which one that is, that's the father whose daughter decides to leave home on the spaceship. And he's aging differently than her because she's on planets and he's trying to fly to different planets to find her. And he's aging out on his trip. if you
Cool.
understand what the game is, that's a Matthew McConaughey game. That is primo. They have nailed everything the novel nails, and everything that, if you go to their website, the game or the idea and game is supposed to nail. Really good vocals too on almost all those episodes. The voice work was amazing, man. Yeah, good anime. What'd you guys think of Warhammer?
It was really good. I think it was pretty expected. Like there was nothing in it that, surprised me, because I think all three of us have played the game. We're kind of like know what to expect from it, but they did a good job with it. It was a pretty epic battle in there. Looked cool. They did a good job, I thought, showing the sheer strength and power.
Mm-hmm.
And one cool thing too they captured is like how fast as well they are moving. Because one thing in the games, at times you feel a little bit like a slow moving
right, yeah,
character, especially some certain classes, right? It certainly depends which classes you play. But I like because a lot of times when you read the books, they talk about it almost like they're Super Saiyans, like zipping around the battlefield, So I really enjoyed seeing them be pretty agile and powerful.
The only thing I would say is we got to see Estrades, or whatever the original animation that guy did, and so I feel like this is going to sound weird. I feel like his was more impressive than this one, because it was one guy. It was a surprise. It was like, holy shit, this guy made this cutscene. This guy made a Warhammer cutscene. He made whatever. And then you see this one, which was good, but it was also the guy we know. It's Titus again. You know what I mean? Yep. It was, there wasn't any surprises there. I think I already told you, Johnny, the one great thing I thought that existed in the Warhammer one was the visuals for particular things that they explain in movies or games or books, but you don't always see because they're not animation. Animation, it allows you to do something that a movie never would if you can't get the practical effect or the digital effect. And when she goes up to their eyeball and she dials in like to their brain, and you see their iris just go like, and it gets big, like in fear, and then she dives into their sort of like their brain, their spirit world. That shit was
nailed.
Ace. Yeah, it was so well done, man. It was so well done. But it's typical, right? Every single Warhammer book is like, we found a child who is not afraid of death, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, they're all that way. It's like, are you telling me all these guys are fearful of death all the time and he's not it's everybody's too cool for school in Warhammer. That's why I like it. But it is hard when the entire story was based around that. And you're like, we get it, but you didn't really show us why he was massively without fear. I mean, maybe he was missing the gene for it or something. Yeah, it was great animation, man. And they fought those guys on the motorbikes and just destroyed the shit out of them. That was the other thing. Those guys just don't lose. I mean, they lose to demons, but it's, for the most part, if normal people, I don't know why anybody sees a Space Marine and thinks, I'll give her a try. That'd be like being on or on a basketball court with your friends and a tank rolls by and you're like, let's give her a shot. It's like, dude, what are you doing? It's just ridiculous how overpowered they are. What else? What other ones were good in there? Especially ones that replicated games in some way.
I don't know if I would say good, but at least funny, I think, was the New World one, because it was just so stupid.
My God, is that Conan?
Well, that's
was that
the one
Arnold?
where he lands on the beach and he was
with Arnold.
It was great. It was great. I didn't know it was New World. I watched the entire episode like three times before finding out what it was. I legitimately, because he even dresses like Conan at one part. He takes and he's got the big belt and he's like, does the Conan move and then just gets annihilated. And that little guy is like, your Lord, I am your friend, but I just want to tell you, it's possible that you aren't a good fighter.
Maybe they let you win.
Yeah, leave me. Leave me, never come back, or whatever he says.
It wasn't actually Arnold, right? It's just someone
that's Arnold
doing the voice.
It's 100%.
Is it actually?
It's Arnold and his son. His son, I believe, is the king, and he's
okay.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, because I wasn't sure listening to it if someone was just doing the voice.
Oh, just throwing a little rip off Arnold. Dude, man, it was funny too, and he shows up in the demon armor or whatever at the end, and you think, okay.
Nope.
Yeah, and nope at all. I love it when the spell finally gets to the king, and it's like, and and it just gives up on his chest. And you're like, damn, this guy.
This was so dumb.
Yeah, it was dumb, but I thought it handled it well. I thought it was a roguelike. So I watched it 3 times, and because he kept returning, does that make sense? Yeah. So
that's the roguelike was Spelunky. Yeah.
Yeah, the roguelike was Spelunky, which I didn't also get because I purposely was trying not to look. I was trying to guess, most are easy. Yeah. That one was a little, I didn't pick up on it. Did you guys like the Spelunky one? I thought it was just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just sort of. It didn't really hit too hard.
The Unreal Tournament one kind of confused me.
God, thank God I'm not the only one. So I still to this moment don't know what they were trying to do. If they were trying to, it wasn't 1999 for sure, but then it had to do with maybe slavery in some way.
This like Unreal, not Unreal Tournament?
That's exactly what I did.
Based game they tried before going into the tournament stuff. What?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what they were like when they take the game idea and say we're going to make a show. I was like, well, what from the game were you trying to take? And I guess it was just the arena.
Or is it the play at the bots in the game being actually enslaved?
Sentient?
Or
Which by the way, I would be cool. We talk about a lot, so that would be awesome. Yeah, that was a weird one, man. That was definitely a weird one. Let's see what other ones were there. The Warhammer.
The weakest one for me was the PlayStation Mix whatever thing at the end, the last one.
PlayStation Mix one? Not Concord.
No, where the girl gets a delivery package and then drives around.
Oh, yeah. Those always feel a little masturbatory, right?
Yeah.
It didn't work out. I thought the Concord one was really enjoyable as a plot and fun and weird and interesting and didn't fit the game at all. It was like we took the Concord name, but I'll tell you what, if somehow that had been the game or whatever, I would have been okay with that because it made it somewhat interesting. You didn't like it?
For me, the Concord thing, the episode has 2 things. I think it's kind of funny that probably more people saw the episode than ever played the game.
You're absolutely
and the second one is the whole thing had a very, very big hey fellow kids vibe to me. It's like,
oh shit, okay.
Like I felt in the episode the same reason for why I think the game failed. It feels like, hey, I'm here, I'm cool too, but you're not.
But you're not. Yeah. Oh, dude. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to have to rewatch it again. I totally understand what you're saying. I don't know, man. So, man, that's interesting.
Like, we have Guardians of the Galaxy at home.
Yeah. That's 100% in agreement on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Release. Straight to DVD Guardians, yeah. Defenders of the, Sentinels of the solar system or whatever, just slightly adjusted. Okay. Yeah, dude, that might be it. I liked the heist stuff. I liked the end result of we're going to give up everything just like to screw these guys over. I like the special effects. But you are sort of right. It does feel like a VCR movie version. Guardians was so, I don't know what the term would be. Guardians' entire theme has pushed onto so many things. I mean, even Thor switched entirely, and in a good way, towards that style. It's hugely influential. So, man, you might be right, dude. You might be right. The Hello Fellow Kids is something that games always have a problem with because, the 18-year-olds or the 15-year-olds aren't making the game. It's the 35-year-old looking at what the 15-year-old likes and trying to figure it out. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. What do you think, Johnny, of Concord?
Honestly, I don't even remember it that much. Kind of like when
okay.
I was exposed to it, and a couple episodes I didn't really register too much of what happened. I was more like just being exposed to it, enjoying the graphics, and that's it.
That's what I took from it too. Almost every episode, I liked the graph. I liked whatever choice they made for graphics, or maybe even didn't at first, but then over time was like, okay, I sort of jive with this. I mean, even Sifu at first I knew it was Sifu, so but at first I was like, okay, they've chosen to go this way with the graphics. Takes a second to get accustomed to it, especially if you see super high res digital graphics on one of the others, and then you see the more pastel kind of. Yeah. Yeah, so that was, to me, that's honestly probably my vote for like one of the coolest things this year. Not because I don't give a shit if even people like it. It's more that they got it, like it happened. That's a big deal to me. And Love, Death, and Robots, that's sort of what they wanted to do, but a video game version. I did a news release yesterday that unfortunately Microsoft had stated when they asked them about doing Doom and Halo Infinite, they turned them down, and I was like, hindsight's 2020. They may not have had a good pitch, but I feel now like it's done a great job for just games. It's always cool to see, and Amazon spent some serious cash, man. That amount of cash was insane. You can tell the amount of money spent on those episodes was mind-blowing. So that's sort of my special thing of the year. Was there anything special that was like, I hate to say it this way, but like transmedia, across the entire organization of media? Was there, even if it's a movie, like the Sonic movies, or
I thought Arcane was really incredible. The second season, as much as the first season is in a way is a better story all told. It's like better packaged and everything.
Wait, there's two seasons? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Season 2 came out I think a couple months ago or maybe a month ago. And yeah, it was incredible. It's I think it's by far like the most expensive animation production ever. And it didn't quite pay off in terms of numbers, but certainly paid off in terms of quality. It was an incredible thing to watch.
We'll talk. Remind me before we move on. Can you get back to the numbers thing? Because I don't know what that. I don't know. I'd like to know who reported on it stuff. But Reg, do you feel the same way about Arcane? Did you watch it?
I did watch it finally, like a week or so ago. Finally, I did watch it. I have basically zero clue about the world of League of Legends or the characters. But the main thing I appreciated about the show is that it's very strong in the artistic segment.
Yeah,
like their understanding of color space and lighting and their lighting and everything. It's that's. I don't know if who else does it as good as them.
Right, maybe Blizzard.
It's that stylistic feeling of something like Persona 5, for example, where you're just like, okay, this just oozes style wherever you look.
Yeah. I've watched it twice over. I wanted to verify I'd watched season 2. I let season 1 run, season 2, season 1, season 2. I still know nothing at all about the game world. After all those times, I did not pick up a single thing about it. I was just like, okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah, because it's really not about the game at all. Like there are a couple characters that are based on characters from the game.
It's just using the framework of the world and the dynamic
the framework
between
as like maybe inspiration, but then it stands on its own legs, which is nice.
So I do want to point out, I was saying the opposite. I didn't feel it stood on its 2 legs because I couldn't get anything from the cartoon as much as I needed for it itself. Because you know me, I don't know League of Legends, and I also don't know Arcane. So I felt still lost at the end. I feel like they maybe could have done better in the first couple episodes of really explaining the world more. Because it's almost like 3 or 4 episodes in, they were like, okay, we got him, guys. Like, we're sort of where we need to go. Let's run our own thing. And I would have liked a little bit more like solid world building. No big issue. I watched it over twice. So it's like, obviously it was okay. Yeah. I just would have liked a little bit more. Sorry, Reg, what were you going to say? There was something else.
I was going to say, I've seen a couple of times mentioned that after the release of the second season, apparently a number of people tried to get into League of Legends and bounced off hard, which is no wonder because the series has basically nothing to do with the game.
I think that's completely fair.
But I think what you said is fair, actually, like in the sense that they don't spend a lot of time explaining the world and, what is this country and what is the suburbs or whatever, the undercity stuff. It really is kind of, it's not something you even know from playing the games either, by the way. Like you're not better off
knowing
if
the
you play
lore
the
when you
game.
play the game.
Yeah, I think that's actually like maybe a stylistic choice from their part, like
Right.
keeping it pretty vague and not delving into that too much. But I agree that probably would have connected a bit more if you understood what it meant to be from the city versus from somewhere else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. SBZ supporter for 4 months. Discord access. Happy New Year's, gents. New Year start with Reg is a good sign. Any wishes for 2025 in gaming, excluding Switch 2? We will definitely be talking about that as well, but we're going to keep sort of in line with discussing sort of the nice technological innovations or innovations in gaming right now before we jump into good, bad, and then we'll jump into 2025. I did get a reminder that we had skipped an episode, and I do want to, what? And I got to say this. There's a reason why.
Oh, okay.
The Secret Level D&D episode was one of the biggest disappointments I think I've ever had in a long fucking time. That was not what I expected it to be. And I think the biggest reason is this. When those people are sitting at a table doing voices and they say they're a dwarf, there's a merge that happens in your brain without the animation there. Your brain fills in those frames. When they're on the screen as those characters and none of them look like they sound or sound like they look, you basically have an anime filled with 15 Mike Tysons who don't look how they sound. And after a certain point, you're like, dude, okay, this... And it was also one of the worst, most generic stories. It's very typical tropish. It's a problem with D&D that's been, sort of like ends of the earth. There's a reason why so many other game systems and worlds and stuff have eclipsed them, at least in interest and just general, I would say like really general overall ability to create cohesive worlds and stuff have sort of eclipsed that company, which was one of my favorite companies for years. It happens. But I don't know. Did you like the D&D one? Those are just my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm wrong or right. Sorry. I'm not saying I'm wrong. Go ahead. No, those were just my thoughts. Did you guys come away from the D&D one feeling like it was a good story, good animation? You liked? Didn't? See, that's why we missed it.
Didn't do much for me.
That's
honestly.
why we missed it, right?
I thought it was a bit cringy. I didn't really dig it personally.
Reg doesn't remember it, or do you remember it?
Oh, I do remember it.
Yeah, but
I
nothing really.
Remembering that, I think, was it the dwarf character where I thought those body proportions are very weird.
Very weird. Yeah.
It's like a giant head on little legs.
yeah, which is sort of how they're it's just one of those things, man, right? It just that one just didn't work. It just didn't.
I did like the look and the animation of the original like dragon when they encounter it, but
that's true. Yeah. I sort of liked the was it the gnome character? There was a magic user little character. I sort of liked the general look and like feel of their hands when they were casting spells. I thought that was done well, but for the most part it came and went as an idea. And
yeah, this episode was very, very uncanny valley.
Oh, true. Well. True. Yeah. Yeah. There's such a disconnect in so many ways for that one. And then the other games / shows were showing me worlds of interest we hadn't seen, or even if we had, they did Pac-Man. They Pac-Maned it. And you're like, what the fuck? This was like, here's D&D as D&D and a D&D. I mean, there was just, and that's, it felt old. Weirdly enough, you described the, hey, fellow kids, that right there to me was the really bad one where I was like, this is made by, people that there's no freshness in that. But that's fine. That it was still good. It was still cool that it was done.
Yeah.
It does. I don't have to
sure.
love it. I'm still really excited to see that they did this in the overlap. But back to Arcane real quick. I did want to cover that because somebody brought it up for us. Arcane's, I think Arcane, I don't know what the cost was, but Johnny was saying it sounds like the numbers didn't do well.
Yeah, I pulled up some data on this. So it cost them $250 million for the 2 seasons.
Okay.
And Bloomberg was saying it was a financial miss based on what they made from it and the amount of players that went into the game from it, wasn't enough to warrant it. But Riot did come back and say that they found it to be a success based on their internal measures, and they also view it as kind of an investment for the long term. Creating something of quality that will keep being interesting and pulling people in, and maybe creating spin-offs and everything.
Isn't Bloomberg just the fucking news website? Bloomberg has no fucking clue on their internals.
Yeah, they don't. No, I would trust more like the internal measures of or like projections that Riot had than what Bloomberg is reporting.
Yeah, it's like we've decided that we're going to say that it's a financial, like it's not going to pay off or whatever. Is pretty, I mean, I think the Arcane cartoon also could pay off for years because it's there forever. See, that's the other thing is like you make videos for League of Legends. Honestly, a lot of people aren't going to want to watch a video with little dudes running around. But if you have Arcane and it's sitting there for 10, 15, 20 years and it gains in popularity, doesn't gain, whatever, but it's still there, you have people who are like, oh, hey, have you seen the Arcane? It's always there. And that cost of making it is done. You're done. It's almost like when we joke about companies making digital game libraries. The game's been made. The cost is done. Now you're literally just going to make money on it sitting there digitally and delivering somebody.
Yes.
You're not packaging something. You're not spending $5 to make a CD. You're basically shuttling data to them. And so you're paying your server allotment, and that's it. And that's on Amazon.
There are some intangible, like
very intangible
benefits too. Like the whole player base gets super
excited
involved and engaged, excited, because they make skins based on the show too. So some of the characters that are based off of like champions in the game, all of them got like new skins and things you can unlock. And people get excited about that sort of stuff, like people who play and enjoy the game. Yes, that is exciting. That is cool. And it definitely is a bump.
I can give you an example. If there's another Pac-Man game and you get to be the evil, weird, demonic Pac-Man at the end of that thing, I'm going to be all fucking over that. Like, right? Like, it only makes sense. Yeah. So,
I mean, it wasn't the Pac-Man episode literally just the Prime episode for a game that is following up that?
Oh, that I don't know. You're saying the rumor is that that's the origin story of the game that's coming?
Yeah, it is. It is Shadow Labyrinth, an upcoming action adventure game.
Oh yeah, we talked about that one when it popped up.
But it's an action adventure Pac-Man game?
It's in the Pac-Man universe.
I don't know. I don't know. I need to see more of that to know.
So it's part of Pac-Man and a continuation of the secret level episode.
Yeah, see, so to me, this all that works out for it is, as Johnny said, it's intangible. It's almost like whenever you get an NFL team spending a bunch for a receiver and they don't pan out the first year, and people are like, oh, big mistake, and you're all, that's not how it works, man. Like some things might take a while to get everything, but if somebody has a bigger overarching idea, if that kind of thing were true, then anybody who lost a pawn in a chess game would immediately just be done with the game.
Resigned.
Lost.
We're done.
Yep, you lost one single pawn, game over. And you're like, dude, that's not how it's done. Long play is a real thing. So that's cool, man. So those are some innovations over gaming, over TV shows, anime altogether. I think that was a spectacular year when it comes to that. Really well done.
Yeah, I would say so, because Fallout was also a banger.
Was Fallout 2024?
Yes.
Ooh, I feel bad I didn't put that on the fucking list.
Yeah. And funny enough, the actress that did Jinx, one of the characters in Arcane, also did the voice, the character in Fallout, right? She was the girl in
Is it Pernell?
Fallout.
Pernell or whatever her name is?
Ella Pernell. So yeah, she had a banger of a year, and she was up for... So those two shows were up for an award, right? For the same award. So it's almost like she had the 100% chance of winning that award one way or another, whether Arcane got it or Fallout got it.
Damn.
That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Big year.
Yeah, very big year. So one of the things I wanted to do to talk a little bit about, and we can come back and talk about Fallout for sure. I really did not remember Fallout was 2024. It feels older for some reason because I've watched it many times too. I really feel that is in and of itself a good show without any Fallout parts. As in, it doesn't need to be connected to a world. If I found that show by itself, I would be just as interested in that show, if not maybe a little more, because you know the world could change versus what we know. So yeah, it was very cool. One thing I wanted to talk about though was, were there any, so this was just asked for me last night. I have a most beautiful game that you hated playing debate here, but was there anything this year that graphically, whether it be artistically or whether it be just pure performance, was amazing, but once you jumped in and started playing, you did not like it? Now, this is a weird question for you guys. It's not going to be instantly answerable until you go look at your games, I assume. But I was looking at games that looked like really good this year. And I was trying to figure out if there was a game that, you know, you get in, you're like, this game looks amazing. It looks like everything I should like. And then once you play it, you're just utterly, you know, you're really not happy. And maybe this is 2024 for me, but that I didn't have a game that graphically, I didn't have a game that graphically was magnificent enough that the discordant feel of not enjoying playing it was something that I could even track. But I was wondering if you guys did. Was there like anything this year? Because I was going to say Star Wars, but I feel like I didn't love a lot of what Star Wars looked like before it came out. And I liked playing a lot of Star Wars. I also disliked some of the looks. Yeah. But if you guys have one, it's a weird question, and I don't expect you to have one off the top of your head.
I think Outlaws could be a really good example for someone who maybe didn't like the gameplay.
Okay.
I was thinking of Silent Hill 2, because for me...
great example.
I loved the look, you know, and the exploring the locations and stuff, but I absolutely hated the combat. A lot of the moment to moment in it felt sort of janky, slow, you know, the way you move and everything. So it really didn't click with me, sadly. I didn't complete the game as a result of that.
That's a great example, man.
I did enjoy it, visually, which is interesting. And it is rare, like you say, that you have that.
The dichotomy there, that split that doesn't feel it doesn't feel usual. So sometimes, you know, dude, that's a really good example, because that game's lauded for having, you know, some wicked graphics. There's, you know, Digital Foundry talked about it. Multiple other people who've come on the podcast have been really excited about it. And yet Silent Hill's always felt that way for me.
Yeah.
Silent Hill's always been a little bit of a difficult one for me. Was there any for you, Reg, that maybe you saw, or if not, it's fine, because it's not a normal style question.
I'm scrolling through my list, but nothing so far.
Nothing that like breaks out as, I think it's sometimes for us easier to say, here's a game I played through despite it looking like shit.
Well,
like
that happens often.
That happens often, yeah. But when you have a lot of times, maybe for whatever reason, it's like when you look at a game and it looks amazing and you start playing it, a lot of times maybe the polish is there on the gameplay as well, or maybe it's less noticed. I don't know. Oregon Fresh says New World is that for me. Looks pretty awesome, has some good, just couldn't pull me in. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Is there can I put up a little question? Similar?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, everybody's talking about, you know, the big hitters in the year in terms of games. But was there like a B title this year that really surprised you? That I wouldn't, by the way, I wouldn't even consider Wukong a B title. I would say that's more like,
Wukong,
you know.
Wukong cost the Chinese, you know, state or whatever millions of dollars. But
right.
A B.
So, yeah, was there a B title? Like, for example, for me, Stellar Blade was an awesome little surprise. I jumped into that. I love the looks and the music in that and gameplay.
What game was it?
Was there Stellar Blade?
So I have best game no one played as a list. I do, which sort of fit this for a second. But you're saying like one that just what? But Stellar Blade looked so. Stellar Blade, I don't think Stellar Blade's a B. Let's see, this is the problem with B and A level games, right?
It's maybe it's more like a solid A. I mean, like
Stellar Blade might have been one of your biggest surprises.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, you're right. Maybe that's you know, that is a bigger game, isn't it? It's a significant.
Well, let's look at best game no one played, because I do have this written down for a reason. This happens almost once every 2 years or 3 years where I review an indie game like Kingsbird or something like that really surprises me. There's a game called Schism that I reviewed, and this was back June or July. And it's a creature that looks like an amorphous blob that is made of shadow that has to follow a kid through life, jumping from shadow to shadow to shadow. And despite some issues, that game, there was something about it that it was telling a story as you followed, and the kid loses his shadow, and there's depression moments where you're like, is that because he's lost part of himself and that's me? And then that causes you to want to catch up more quickly. There's all kinds of weird hazards that can pop up. That to me is like one of those games. It maybe not be best game no one played, but a really enjoyable, unique title that probably sold 5 copies. Like it just didn't. It did not catch on at all. So that one would be there. Were there any secrets you played? Small games you played, Reg? Because you've played a ton. You were playing the detective one.
My main problem right now is that the one game that was a standout for me in that direction actually released last year. I played it this year.
What was that?
That was Bokura.
Okay.
It's a 2-player co-op game.
Mm-hmm.
Where you puzzle through a world and each player sees a different view of the world. So where you see a gateway, for example, the other player doesn't. And you have to constantly communicate to each other what you see so you can solve the level.
Oh, damn. And you also liked the detective, Chicken
Police.
Yeah, Chicken Police. I think 1000X Resist, I think, released this year. So
it did resist. Yeah, I've got that one. Yeah. So people in chat were answering, this doesn't apply to me, but I could see people loving the idea and look of Stalker 2 than hating gameplay. Stellar Blade is stellar indeed. Danowin says, I think Banishers. And I would agree. I think Banishers is a great example of a game that doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. But it's like, it is definitely a B/AA kind of title.
Yeah,
and turned around.
That would be an example of one game that I didn't get to play, but judging by everything you guys said was really fun.
You know what's crazy to me too? It's the only game I can remember in years, Johnny, where I've suggested it on writing alone and not had a single person come back at me and say they didn't like it. So normally when you like writing, that doesn't mean everybody's going to like the writing, right? Doesn't mean everybody's going to like the story. Every single person I've suggested it to, in fact, just recently Bit Lyrist beat it, and he has a tendency to sometimes like things a little bit more cheerful than me. Or like, but there's some agreement there, but he came back and he's like, dude, that writing is like fantastic. And it's so interesting to see that this story about a ghost and her lover walking around in like medieval Scotland feeling, Dark Age of Scotland, like this weird time frame. Well, it's not Scotland, but there's something about it that's so odd and really spoke to a shit ton of people when it comes to those low level games that end up getting played. Kitsugami, Path of the Goddess, I think was a surprise. I enjoyed the hell out of that game. Yeah, I found that game way better. I think I told Johnny about it a couple months ago. I was randomly, it might have even been when Game Addict was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oregon Fresh says,
a very interesting
Another Crab's
mix.
Treasure. Yeah, it was an interesting mix. Another Crab's Treasure, that I believe is the Dark Souls crab one, right? Where like and you run around and you like can switch armor by stealing other people's shells and shit. Jay says, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Jay says surprise game this year was a little game called Turnip Boy Robs a Bank on Game Pass. Oh, that's real? It's called Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. Game.
I think the first one was Turnip Boy commits tax evasion or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
And now that's the second game.
Turnip Boy robs a bank. This time he's teaming up with a fearsome pickle gang to plan and execute the weirdest heist of all. Holy shit, the reviews are high for that. That is a highly rated game. Okay. All right, so there you go, people. Turnip Boy robs a bank, and its original title, Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. Made by Graffiti Games.
Turnip Boy always gets into it.
Yeah, he's getting up in there, man. He's causing anarchy. Turnips, dude. That's just what they do.
No.
The anarchy of vegetables. Yeah, I've never heard of that one. I think I did see people playing it, but I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together and realize. Dude, I just looked over to my right. Somebody on our Discord is playing Rise, Son of Rome, and you, my friend, are a champion. Mick Fury. You're a champion for playing Rise, Son of Rome. Man, that's a game. Blast from the past. I think a game that people might talk about the graphics being amazing, but the gameplay didn't fit them, which is sort of what Jay was talking about with Stalker, is Hellblade 2. I didn't feel that, but I absolutely, completely understand if somebody's like, there wasn't enough going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game was phenomenal. Hey, let's see, Stellar Booty. Outcast is another game I love that no one played. I think Outcast: The New Beginning probably sold, -2 copies, just because people hated my review and they went out and fucking, I don't know, tried to steal copies. But I loved it. Then there was Expedition Mudrunner. Pacific Drive is another game that, thankfully, graphically was just phenomenal. One of those, atmosphere was amazing. I hope more people play it. And I'm all the way back to House Flipper 2, which Johnny played.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of games. When it comes to best game no one ever played, though, the big problem is we say no one, and then you look at Steam sales or something, you find out it sold 1 million.
Yeah, it's
copies.
still a shit ton.
Yeah. I mean, I could do a journalistic, thing and say that I'm right and they're wrong and that financially it didn't pay off, but
no. Okay.
Like Arcane. Let's see. Most overhyped yet still somewhat fun game. I had
overhyped but still fun.
Avatar was what I was gonna put, but it's not overhyped. It was the movies, the TV shows were overhyped, so I put the wrong title in here. But yeah, most overhyped yet somehow still, that it wasn't as good as the hype, and it feels like it was generally super overhyped, but still enjoyable. I think a lot of people think Space Marine 2 is that. Personally, I think Space Marine 2 is more fun than I ever had hoped for.
I think so.
But I do understand the thought process of being like, okay, it didn't hit where I wanted, but it's still enjoyable. But what's an overhyped game? What were some overhyped games? See, the thing is I think we're in anti-hype mode in the game industry now, where there's so much negativity that it's hard to be. 2
was pretty hyped.
Oh my God. Wow.
And
you win.
It didn't really hit me.
You win the game. You win the podcast on that one. Wow.
Yeah.
Perfection.
Yeah, that's just,
man, every word you said. Luke, did you ever do that one, Reg? Did you do Frostpunk 2?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I skipped it.
Such an odd title because it's not bad. It's just, it was exact what Johnny said. It was like there was so much hope and hype on it, and that, and it not only didn't resonate overall, it just didn't resonate. It just didn't continue. Yeah, it just sort of died out. You don't hear many people talking about it. Wow, that's a good example. Shit. I feel like I don't even have a good example of a game that is even near that good of a suggestion. I feel like that one. I feel like that one right up there. And then You're Ugly as Ass, but still fun to play award. So here's my thought on this, and bear with me.
Yeah,
Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2, it runs at like 2 frames per second in the city. The main characters, when you see them, they're like Play-Doh face. The world still has that, we forgot how to put the extra texture pass
the
on
roughness.
The roughness. But pure fun, it's top 3 games of all time this year. Of all time this year doesn't make sense. Of this year. And I just really enjoyed it. But I do think you can look at that game and go,
It's like the ugly girlfriend, but
she takes her glasses off and suddenly she's the prettiest girl in high school, like a 1990s movie.
Yes.
Freddie Prinze Jr. shows up for a cameo. Yeah, that one hit it for me. Was there any for you guys that were like that, where the gameplay really resonated, but sort of like Banishers in that way, but where it was super fun to play? Or anything that maybe you're still playing?
The main one I'm thinking of right now is an indie title, Beyond Galaxy Land.
Was it ugly?
That is fairly ugly. Yeah, I think you have to really like.
Oh, that's a weird looking game.
There you go. You really have to get into that.
Whoa,
it's like a bit of a weird mix of 3D scenery with pixel art style.
Yeah, it looks.
It looks strange, but also its play is kind of interesting, and it actually looks pretty interesting in action. but that's the most rough-looking one I can think of that was still fun to play.
I think I think I watched this game for quite a while, and I think the closer we got to release and the weird oddities of the graphics, because they have pixel characters, but then their character on the screen, their representation is like almost like mobile game art, shiny, so it looks good. So there's multiple levels to this one. Yeah, it got good ratings, but that's a weird looking game. Is that more action packed than Reg? Is that an action game?
It's action platformer thingy. That's its main thing.
Action platformer thingy.
Yeah.
That it sort of explains it perfectly, because it's a thingy. There's a lot of weird thingies going on in it. Hey, it got really good reviews. It's only $15. Do you remember how long it is, or maybe how long you played? No. Yeah, I didn't think so. Warpig says Rise of Ronin felt like a miss for me. Rise of Ronin was a miss.
Yeah. We're talking about like high and low, but what about mid? Is there like like what's the mid game of the year?
I think all games are mid.
Doesn't even register.
I feel like most games are mid, and so the only way we can talk about things is the extremes, right? Because like how many games are mid this year, or any year? If you have 10,000 Steam games, 200-300 prior titles, like, do you mean?
I think, for example,
what do you mean
like
by
Dragon
mid?
Age, that
Veilguard?
Veilguard. Like it had, in a way, it had a lot going for it, in my opinion. But at the same time, when you look at it, nothing about it really registered above, like, a certain threshold where you would say,
Would this fit in Press F award for disappointing sequels award? Or would it be in something more along the lines of a game that makes you want to dislike it at every moment, but is still enjoyable? Because I feel like Veilguard's PR, their art, their handling of various things almost made it feel like you were just like, dude, you guys are really, you're all over the place. But there are a lot of people who find it enjoyable. It's definitely got a mid response, right? I see a couple people saying they love it, but it's really rare. Did you like it, or did you like it? Did you finish it?
I think I didn't even like it enough to have a strong opinion on it in a weird way.
But didn't even care enough to have a low opinion? Is that what you mean?
Right. So it wasn't bad enough to like boot me out, like bounce off it.
Right.
So I did stick with it for a good number of hours, but it also wasn't good enough for me to like write home about in any sort of way.
Right.
So I think it only did pretty well for me, or like I spent some time with it because nothing else was going on at the time, in a way.
Nothing else was pulling you into
no play. Other game was really pulling me in, so that was like a good timing for that game.
I think that's fair. That checks out with a lot of what I'm hearing. Reg, did you do Veilguard at all?
Nope, completely skipped it. Looked at it and said nope.
Now let me preface this. I should have went back in time and asked this first. Did you do Inquisition?
Yes.
Do you remember if you liked that?
I liked Inquisition. I loved the first one. I wasn't hot on the second one. Yeah.
So loved, liked, Inquisition was okay. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the order is more like loved, didn't really like,
okay.
Kind of liked.
Kind of liked.
So Inquisition is the kind of liked.
That's pretty much exactly where I am with Inquisition with some mods. This is not fair because it's not the general game, but fixing the camera and being closer, I really enjoyed my revisit of Inquisition, but it's still got the hinterlands. It will always have the hinterlands, and you can't escape the hinterlands. I feel like other games are going to have places called hinterlands because it's so fucking big. But Veilguard was rough. I've still got it on the Legion. It plays pretty well on there, and it's one of those titles that I can't even remember what game it is when I see the name on my desktop. What I mean by that is, on my desktop on the Legion, I was going through it a couple days ago, and Veilguard was there, and I had to think what Veilguard was. I had to remind myself of even what it was. It might, whether the name is what's generic or the title is what's generic. I'm not quite sure, but I only put about 10 hours in it. What'd you put in, Johnny?
20.
Okay, so you
Solid
doubled
20.
my solid 20. All right. Yeah, that's a thing. You know, that game, that it's like Star Wars Outlaws. Maybe it's a little bit like Avatar, where those games will come and go, and we probably, won't hear too much about them. There was a bunch of hubbub about the writing and stuff in Veilguard, and I purposely got to some points and was like, all right, bad, generic more than anything. And then there were a couple points,
cutter.
Yeah, there were a couple points, and people were like, "Oh, it's pushing this and that." And I was like, "Okay, I can see that, but it certainly wouldn't affect my overall thought of the game." I'd be like, there's a lot of that game that has nothing to do with that, and you could certainly, Hinterlands. That's a reason to talk about the whole game, because that is half the game. It feels like, but it's a fourth of the game. The stuff that I saw about the writing, I was like, okay, I'll go check that out and see if that's true. And not to be rude, but it's like,
Yeah,
I'd be the first person to have an issue too. But there was a couple times where I was like, it seems like there was some hyperbole around that one. But it is what it is. I mean, I haven't played
environments though. Like I said, it did have a lot of cool things in the production. Like the environments, I liked how it looked overall. The movement felt pretty good, I would say.
Dragon Age's art style has always been like the chick who looks like she's constantly graduating with that valedictorian hat on. The magic user.
Oh yeah, with the square on the head.
Makes me want to die inside. Dragon Age's art
character. Right.
Yeah, Dragon Age's. Yeah, it looks like she beat up a valedictorian, stole their fucking hand, glued it on side of her head where it wouldn't stay. There's so much about the game's art that really is a put off when it comes to the geometry and the architecture. It has nothing to do with the colors. Like, I like purple. I'm a Saints Row fan. So like a fantasy game that's like, we're mostly purple, I'm all, dude, I'm there. Like, I have no issue with that part. It's just the generic, you know how you'll see anime? You guys watch a lot of anime. You'll see an anime that goes for a rough style, an anime that goes for the super slick style, and you may like one or the other. I just have found myself not liking Dragon Age's aesthetic. And 2, I felt, tried to go emo dark. 2 felt like it was trying to do Prince of Persia, metalhead. I can't remember which one did the emo Prince of Persia. It might have been the... Oh, I can't remember the name of those Prince of Persia games, but there's one particular that had
Warrior?
like Disturbed
Warrior
music
Within or something?
Warrior Within, yeah. Where
Mm-hmm.
it felt like Disturbed should be playing the entire time.
Absolutely.
You'd be like, "Wah!" That kind of shit.
Yeah.
Dragon Age has its own feel, and it's just, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot of people enjoyed it generally, though, which I think is really cool because, no real issues against it. Ransom says, speaking of great games that are easy to overlook, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Listen, Reg, did you do the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown game? Okay.
Nope.
Did you, Johnny?
No.
So this game, I had a shit ton of bugs when I was trying to review it. Game save killing bug, and a bug where my character warped past the boss into a deadly area without the item to live through the area. So I couldn't even review it. Went back to it a couple months ago, and I agree with this person. That game is just a resounding success for a Metroidvania, if you like those kind of games. It really was a huge success when it comes to delivering very fun 2D Metroidvania stuff. So if you guys don't get a chance, but you sort of like it, like that kind of stuff, I would say, it might be for you. What else do we got here for best game no one played? We covered that one. Most overhyped, but still fun. I still like that
is
one.
there I don't know if you guys have like a best OST in the game this year. Anything that stuck with you for like OST or music that you heard and you were like, dude, I definitely like Stellar Blade a lot, and you guys know I love Final Fantasy VII, so those are probably
okay. So
my big hits.
Yeah, I know they are. I know they are. I know we've.
Well, yeah, we've covered
so
that.
I don't know if I feel that way. What about you, Reg? Were there any games this year in particular that you were like, I really like the music for, that you maybe nothing
like,
that stuck out?
Unlike Persona 5, where I actually dug the soundtrack quite a bit, the newer one,
Metaphor,
thank you, was blanking, is good. But it's nothing I would listen to outside the game.
Agreed. And by the way, if I hear any more chanting,
true,
I need like a 2-month break of never hearing chanting again.
So
So that's the most standout one for me, and even that one I would say, yeah, it was good in the game, but
Yeah,
otherwise,
I would agree.
I mean, I think Rebirth is fair because it is like the big orchestra kind of stuff. That's great and everything. But I would actually say ones that I would listen to. See, I would listen to some of that stuff, but it's still got the Final Fantasy like dun da da dun dun da da. And after a while, I'm like, I'm not a 14-year-old Japanese kid. Like that's who they're, like they're going for the super young, the super anime fan in some of their. But then they have these really cool, amazing, huge orchestra elements that are fantastic in Final Fantasy. But weirdly enough, looking here, I actually believe so. I feel like I want to say this, and then I feel like the best music moment in games this year for me, music moment, I'll say that, is for sure Hellblade. And I can't tell you, I can explain a bit about what it is, but it's a spoiler, but there's a boss battle that's timed with the music, and it was one of the best moments in a game this year for that particular moment. It was so good that I remember getting done with the game, the review came out, people were playing it, and people were just posting OMG in the Discord, and I already knew exactly what they were talking. It was like the moment somebody posted OMG, I'd be like, you got to that part? Like, that was phenomenal, but it's not the whole soundtrack. It's just that boss battle.
Yeah.
Maybe Final Fantasy wins, man. I don't know. Pacific Drive is more my style with the, you know me, I'm like the ambient, like creepy X-Files, and Pacific Drive is a vibe. It's a mood, as the youngins say. That's a vibe.
It is.
That's, fellow kids, that is.
Do they?
Yeah. But I mean, anymore, they've changed it. It's lit, it's fire, it's cooked. Who knows what the new one is? Hot, which is old. But Pacific Drive's audio and music was that eerie. It fit the game. See, that's the difference, Johnny. This is why I think I want to agree with you, but I don't. In Final Fantasy, sometimes when I'm exploring, I always want to look around and go, where the fuck is the orchestra? Because they make it so well known there's an orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played Pacific Drive, and I didn't find that. Instead, I found the music was almost a graphical layer because it's giving you hints. And I don't know if I have Synthanasia or something like that, but I swear to God, when I was playing, if there was a ping or a sound in Pacific Drive, I swear to you, almost for brief milliseconds, it was like the world was an equalizer, and I was seeing audio popping and going up to indicate there was a guy. Does that make any kind of sense, or do I sound as insane as I feel like
a bit more like
it's like Synthanasia, or if you have
the game itself,
where you see the sound or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. Those are both great. What about, okay, so Star Wars, I think, deserves a mention because they figured out a way to get old Star Wars and do
like
the themes and
John
stuff.
Williams without John Williams.
Yeah. And then also Indiana Jones. I think it's very fair. Somebody here says PoE to OST.
PoE 2. I haven't heard
Pillars
anything about POT. Path of Exile 2.
Dude, I play Path of Exile 2. I certainly didn't hear any amazing music.
I didn't register anything. I do remember liking Diablo 4 a lot. Like the music was really good, and it was a bit more, like you're saying, kind of like integrated or ingrained versus being a standalone thing.
I'll make a note to play Pillars again today because I've been playing it off and on, and to pay more attention to the audio. I think maybe sometimes I'm just
Path of Exile. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll make sure to.
I mean,
I'll make
also
sure
play Pillars again.
I could play Pillars, but I'll make. It's a good suggestion. I didn't notice that at all, but that doesn't mean I wasn't playing it a certain way or just jamming out with the guys in the Discord.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That it certainly got a lot of other strengths to it. Even if you don't love that music, it's definitely got some amazing shit. And then Stellar Blade, I thought there was some good music. But I thought there was some good music in Stellar Blade. I also think that Black Myth Wukong had some really good music. It's very natural. It's very traditional. But that's not going to appeal to a lot of people. It's almost like saying, let's go listen to like Chinese opera. And if somebody hears it and they're not accustomed to Chinese opera, which is using completely different keys and chords, and they're just like, what in the is this? It's not that bad at all. It's just that it's got a different sound than what
and
what we're accustomed to.
it probably needs the context similar to some of these games we were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Reg, did you do Black Myth?
I did for I don't know how long actually.
But you played it for a while.
Yeah.
And did you overall enjoy what you played?
I did, yes, but
something came in the way.
I moved on like I usually do.
Yeah, no, that's cool because
there's nothing against the game. It's just something is always shinier.
And the reason why I was asking you in particular is because I know you're not necessarily a Dark Souls fan, so it was cool. Yeah. I remember when we had talked about it, you were like, yeah, I actually am playing it. I noticed a lot of people, so I was just trying to check up on that. It's always cool to hear that people are able to jump into something that, at least to me, is so different like that. Ransom says, Indiana Jones was so well implemented, felt like a live score to my gameplay. That's true. I guess I can't say Final Fantasy can get away with it and not say that at times Indy felt like they had grabbed all of the brass from, from an orchestra and put them behind your character. But yeah. And then let's talk about voice and shit. I mean, Hellblade, Indy. I actually think Avatar had good voice. I think Black Myth didn't do much, but I actually liked some of the characters there and their mannerisms. Space Marine's voice, especially in that campaign, Space Marine's voice was phenomenal. Were there any others that you liked to voice, or any games maybe? Were there any games that you played this year that maybe had voice and you didn't expect it? A smaller game? I've seen that come up a couple times this year. Nothing really that jumps out.
No, not a smaller game, but I did
I would say
voice acting in Metaphor.
Yeah, I was gonna say Metaphor was excellent.
Okay, let's break this down. Where was the good voice acting in Metaphor? Everywhere. Do you mean everywhere? Really?
Well, almost.
Yeah, the English cast was actually really good across the board.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Are they considered not normally? Sorry, I just want to ask. Are they?
So in Persona 5, for reference, it was serviceable, but I would say several of the voices were at the very least annoying in English, and maybe a bit better in Japanese for sure, in my opinion. But I would say going into Metaphor, I actually liked pretty much everybody in the cast, and a lot of stuff is voiced. Like it, there are some side things that aren't, but a lot of it is.
Reg, do you agree? Was there anybody that was standout in Metaphor?
Yeah, so I started out with Japanese audio because of the mindset that Japanese audio is usually the better one in those games. But then people told me that the English one was better than the Japanese one. So I finally switched over and then stuck to it for the rest of the game. Because, yeah, I agreed.
Damn. Okay. And was that a mixture of voice acting and script writing where it didn't feel like a script that had been translated? Was it a good script as well?
For sure. It's also that the storylines, especially with the character moments you spent, felt like story arcs where you explore the backgrounds and their motivation and how they came to be. And that for itself in the story way was already pretty good. And then it was always delivered well.
Let me write this out. I'm going to take some notes here, too, because there's a couple games I've missed that you guys have brought up. Indiana Jones has been well done, Warpig says. Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
Yeah, true.
Any other games out there that you guys think... SBZ says, I know gacha games are not particularly welcome here. By the way, I don't know why you've taken that. I just want to point out clearly, Reg plays a ton. Johnny's played them. I've played them.
I'm totally innocent.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with gacha games here. We talk about how they get away with stuff that we think is just slightly askew compared to what other games get shit for. But he says ZZZ should be OST. No. He liked the OST in ZZZ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gacha games are fine here, man. Dude, I'll bitch about stuff, but it's like, for the most part, I think what we all have issues with is inaccurate representation of the problem despite it existing in two games. So like, if I see Ubisoft get hammered for something, you fucking damn well better expect me to bitch if it's not, if something made by Naughty Dog gets away with it. Like, it's just like, dude, we have to, at some point we have to draw a line. Yeah, Metaphor. Okay, so all I heard was I didn't hear you guys bitching, but you guys were in streaming, and I heard a lot about chanting. I heard a lot about, oh my god, this battle music, and one of you guys liked it and one didn't, if I remember right.
I was pretty annoyed at it.
You were pretty annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Johnny, what about you?
So I had an evolution along my 80 hours of gameplay until I completed the game. Initially, I kind of dug it. I was pretty into it.
Okay.
30 hours in, I was like, okay, all right, it's, it's a different thing. And then after 60 hours, I was pretty much muting the game every time I went into a dungeon. So for the last 10% of the game, I absolutely hated the chat.
Okay, I didn't go that far.
Here's why it's great. Johnny just described in better terms than I ever could about what it's like being a reviewer.
Dude, I always remember
you get a person, I'm like, come back to me in 60 hours, you dumbass. They're like, I played 37 minutes. It's the best game ever. Or this is the best music ever. And you're like,
dude, yeah.
You haven't had to sit through chanting drum throat singers for fucking 60 hours, right? Like, get back to me. That's it.
So you didn't even listen to the music in the final dungeon?
I did.
Okay, because that's all chanting all the time.
Is it?
Yeah, it was absolutely terrible.
It is.
I basically the final 10% of the game.
Sorry, go ahead.
The starting and the final 10% of the game. So, like, if you take those two, were absolutely dreadful for me because I was so the first part, because it just took a while to.
Man, you don't hear Johnny using this fucking language, man. This feels like you're cussing right now. Continue by all means. I like it.
Yeah, so like the beginning, the problem is
keep talking.
It's getting up to speed, unlocking everything, right? And the first area doesn't look particularly good, and it's kind of a bit slow to pick off. And then once you're after that point, you're into it, awesome, loving it. The last 10%, I couldn't, there was something just enraging me with the chanting, with the battle system itself.
Okay.
I just completely lost any interest in the battle, like in the gameplay, because I was really burnt out with it, and I just wanted it to end.
So do you feel then that judicious editing would have been a big bonus for that game, and editing the last 10 hours down to something, figuring out a way to truncate it so that maybe it ended 10 hours earlier, at least you're 10 hours earlier?
Yeah, it's tough to say if it was down to how I played the game, because other people told me they had a much better time with it. But my experience was that when I got to that final dungeon, I was 15 levels under the projected.
Oh, hell
level.
Yeah. Let's go.
And for people who don't know, in a JRPG, it's all level gated, right? So, dude, if you go into it with like 15 levels,
wearing leather armor to a fucking major battle, this is awesome.
Dude, you're not even playing the video game at that point because you're just getting blasted, right? And so that's what happened to me. And by the way, I think, every side quest that I encountered in the time that was available to me. So I don't know what else was expected of me. If maybe I needed to go out and grind more. I didn't grind, by the way. I didn't go out to grind. I just did every side quest that I found,
every side quest
and that fit into the timeline for me. So that was a really bad experience going through that, especially because I was so burnt out. So, you go on, the battles are so long too, because especially the final boss has 8 turns character. Sorry, I wanted to say character, not character.
I figured you did.
Dude, I'm losing my mind here.
No, this is primo rare Johnny, so by all means continue.
Dude, the final boss has 8 turns. Every turn, it's like you take your actions and then the enemy. But it's like Civilization, Carrick. The enemy turn lasts like 5 minutes. And he's casting something. Everything has a super long, unskippable animation. And you have to live through endless turns, especially because again, I was under leveled, so it just took so long. And then if you fail that attempt, guess what? You got to go back, do it again.
Damn.
Right. Anyway, it was a dreadful experience for me, the way that it panned out. When I look back, it was still like a great game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that last 10% of it really didn't pan out how I think, the designers hoped for in some way. Yeah.
Damn. And Reg, did you have the same issue with levels?
I didn't have that issue because I just looked at the level I would have to get for the final boss before,
and waited to get to that level, then went there
before I even remotely got there. And then also saw some tips, because I was in the same situation as Johnny, where it's like, I've done all quests. I'm like 20 levels away from that goal. What should
what's
I
happening?
do? Turns out you can get some XP boost items that you should get ASAP. And you get that from the Colosseum, which I skipped because I was like, I don't want to do random fights.
I skipped it completely as well. There you go.
There you go. You need to do that.
Damn, that feels like we just found the secret common denominator.
Yeah, and I specifically didn't look up any like guides or anything like 10 things you shouldn't miss or whatever type videos. So fair enough.
What did you, speaking of metaphor for a second, but also just all the things around it, what's the best game, like what's the best class system or skill system you guys saw this year? Like, did you guys like metaphors? Did you feel, I remember hearing some complaints about metaphors early on. There were some people, I can't remember. I think your guys' complaint was your character couldn't be something. Is that right? Or something along those lines? Because this was
not quite. To have the best time, I think, at least in the game and metaphor, you should stick as closely as possible to the natural archetype that a character has.
To what the character gets assigned.
So it gives you a skill tree, and it looks like it wants you to experiment, but really you shouldn't experiment too much.
Okay, that's fair. So that probably isn't in the running. Was there a character, a class or skill system that you guys? It can even be the graphical display of it. Like, Pillars of Eternity looks like looking at the stars, because or Pillars of Eternity. I just said it again.
Pillars is always great.
Fucking anyway. Path of Exile looks like looking at a constellation of stars. Some people like that, some don't. But was there a skill system or a any kind of upgrade system you guys particularly enjoyed this year, and you remember? You can feel free to look back at the games you played. It's not off the cuff.
My main problem with that question is that I just don't like to interact with those systems.
No, you do not. I remember your Final Fantasy 16 story.
With them. Yep, there you go.
We told that story yesterday. I was like, if you guys think skipping out on skills is a thing, go listen to Reg tell a story about forgetting that there was a skill system in Final Fantasy 16 for fucking 20 hours. What about you, Johnny? Was there any game where you really like the skill system? Or we can change this to upgrades too, like how Frostpunk 2 has upgrades for buildings. Is there any that, like, whether it be graphically or gameplay wise, impressed you?
I like Yakuza, Infinite Wealth.
Infinite Wealth, yeah.
I did like Metaphor too, by the way. It's just that towards the end, again, I was just very burnt out with the combat itself, but it was a good job system or a class system. But it does pigeonhole you a little bit, like some people are saying here, because it depends on the stats. Like, every character has their own stats. So if a guy has a lot of physical damage, makes sense to have them use that, right? Use a class that uses physical attacks.
Okay, that's fair.
Whereas if you're going for like magic damage for your main character, makes sense for you to stick with magic. So it's not like that easy to completely try everything out. But it was a solid thing. I think for me, Dragon's Dogma 2 was the one that that felt most interesting to explore. I tried every class, and that felt fun. And I think every class had something interesting in terms of either the move set or like cool interactions and stuff. So I would say maybe that as a cool class system.
That's my answer too. I thought it was going to be controversial, but I guess not. Go ahead, Reg. Sorry.
So for me, it would be Path of Exile too.
Oh, it would be. It would be. You like that.
But less because of the massive skill tree, because that's mainly character stat boosts and attack percentage boosts and stuff like that. But the skill gem system, that's the part where you get your actual attack powers and you can pick and choose which one you have. And then you can equip different boosts towards every single skill and combine them with each other, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the hands-on kind of skill system I do enjoy.
Yeah, and obviously a skill system that you could, play with for 10,000 years, and you're always there's so many idiosyncrasies.
Also, you can at any moment, as long as you have the gems, at least just swap them out completely.
Yeah, that's nice.
Drag them out and drop in the next one, and there you go.
Yeah, without having to worry. So I haven't played enough of that one to say, and I always do tease Path of Exile because of what it looks like, but it's obvious. I would say one thing I did like about that is everybody can have pretty much everything, or you can always figure out a way. I always like those, even if it costs more for a character that, let's say, a game does an alignment system. It's like whatever you're trying to get is too chaotic. You're a techno character, so it costs you more. As long as you can all get everything, I've liked what I've played of Path of Exile overall. I haven't been like, it hasn't grabbed me yet, but overall I like what I see. It's just a lot. And then but Dragon's Dogma there's just something about it that was intangible for me for a game that had the issues it had. The fun level of that game was absolutely maxed. And I would normally say Black Myth Wukong, but I think while I loved only having staves, like that's pretty much all you have in that game. You don't have weapons in the way that I think a lot of people in a martial arts game expect. There's like 10, like Neo 2, where it's like you have, 10 basic weapons, or Elden Ring, which I don't know. We could talk about great DLCs this year, because I think Elden Ring obviously is, might be the big baddie in that. But Dragon's Dogma made me want to experiment with everybody, and I never was unhappy with that. I was at times like, okay, this is great, but it's not whatever. It's not who I want to be for the entire game. But the way you switched it out, it was pretty onomatopoeia. It was like what I saw was what I got. It all made sense, and yet at the same time, the enemies were so weird, and there's different things you can do that I was always experimenting, always trying. So I'd say that was a good one. Those are all good. I think Path of Exile sort of wins by sheer default, because let's say you take 90% of their skills away and bonuses away, there's still probably 200% more than any other game in contention. I mean, its sheer volume is...
Well, not just the volume, but every base class already feels very distinct.
Very distinctive, right? Yeah, that's for sure true. Especially when you play that mercenary the first time, and you're like, what the fuck? This guy doesn't play like anybody I've ever played in a game before. What is going on?
It's literally just a gun.
It's a gun, but it's also he's constantly constantly retreating at times. But which weirdly enough, I felt that the what is he, Archer or Ranger? What's he called in that? Archer. I felt that the Archer didn't have some of those issues, so it was cool to see. Yeah, that game has got some. Everybody feels different, and up close, depending on who you are, can feel different as well, which is a big.
Maybe bonus. It was Ranger. Was it Ranger?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. All the written language in games, also in Esperanto. Under the Season instrumental playing constantly was like being tortured. The Metaphor OST is really cool. The whole thing is sung in Esperanto, a language that's originally intended to be a second international language, very thematic.
Luckily, it is not.
Luckily, imagine if you understood it as well.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, it'd be like listening
to and go there, but
bango,
a little
bongo,
poison on the blade, and let's go.
Hitting the jungle, bango. A little what about a little poison on the blade? What about like
drink
playing
a potion if you want to heal.
What's the one game? The RPG was it Tales of Arise, where they also constantly said the same. I think it was Tales of Arise when we were doing attacks. They shout out the move all the time.
Yeah.
Just like but yeah, for good skill systems, those are all up there.
Yeah. Space Marine. Did you like the skill trees, perks?
I did. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but you know how every game feels like it's a part of whatever genre. So like Path of Exile, you can tell it's a path. The skill system fits that kind of game, even if it's much bigger. When I played Space Marine, I liked those, and it fits in that game. But as a whatever, I wish there were more. But that's because you're just doing the same. See, the continual 5 levels. Going back. Oh, I'm slightly turning up the difficulty. Going back. Everything becomes repetitious. And at some point, you're like, I get that the grind is the thing. I get that. Oh, I'm +1. You know, I got a flaming bolter +1. I liked the upgrade system with the weapons. But even that at times was confusing, Johnny. You'd get a point and go, why can't I spend the point? Oh, it's only for this thing. You know, there were like points being spent in different places. It wasn't terrible, but it felt like a service game. It felt like
and
it didn't do anything special outside of that.
A lot of the points you unlocked were like a bit more damage to Tyranids.
Yeah.
You know, a bit more damage to X. There were some exceptions where you actually got like a different move, or maybe
those are great.
You know, like a second stomp. That's super cool. But yeah, there weren't really enough of those, in my opinion. And like you said, it was actually a bit cumbersome the way you had to unlock, you know, those perk points for the weapons, and the way that as you were leveling up a weapon, you actually needed to equip all the variants to get everything. So you needed to switch between the fencing and the blocking. For people who don't know, that affects how well you can parry attacks. So all of a sudden you have to equip the blocking version, which is not good at parrying. And now your gameplay suffers because you have to, you know, grind out XP for this. Anyway, there was enough cumbersome there that I wasn't a huge fan.
Let me tell you, if I had my druthers, man, if I was on that team and they were like, Carrick, how are you going to do the skill system? I would actually leave a lot of that the same, but what I would do is something like this. They make the chapters a big deal in that game. Such a big deal that unlocking chaos chapters is a big deal, right? So they make sure that you know chaos chapters and stuff are a big deal. Why couldn't you slightly adjust the graphics instead of just the +1? If you're an ultramarine, it has a blue tinge to the fire. If it's a chaos Nurgle marine, it's a green poisonous looking fire. Little tiny things like that would, to me, indicate you're with this god, or not god, sorry. You could be a god,
affiliation?
But your affiliation. Exactly. And if you're a techno, if you're one of the Space Marines that's more about techno, then it's melt-a-bomb, looks different. So you can see that I want to be able to play and not just have to look at character. I want to see him hit and go, that I'm for sure partnered up with a salamander. I can tell because of what I'm seeing on the screen in front of me. Will it ever happen? Probably not. But we've gone so far past the ability to add shaders to everything, but almost nobody does it. I mean, you see fire and ice, right? That's about it. But in cyberpunk style worlds, there's, let's say, malware blades, where a person will pull out a blade. It's all janky looking. It's got digital stuff on it. You stab somebody, it rewrites their code to kill them. Like, those kind of things could exist quite easily in Space Marine as something to give you an indication of, this guy's sword's got something weird around it. He must be affiliated with. And then it would tie back into the Space Marine chapters that they try to get you to buy anyway. And the Space Marine chapter unlock was fucked. I don't know if you remember that shit, but you'd go in, and to buy the thing, you'd have to go through 50 other things that cost inordinate amounts of money, and there were 1,000 of them. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't give a fuck what's at the end. They just care that there's a carrot. That's Lucitan. Nothing against that kind of player. He's okay grinding just to get the +1. I say that's fine, but add it so that there's a graphical embellishment or a fictional embellishment or a narrative embellishment that lets me say I get the +1, but also it looks slightly different. And that there's a connection with all the fictions. But again, you know, I have no clue I have no clue if anybody thought of that or what, but you get these games where they have all these upgrade paths and they don't connect other than being called the same thing. And you're like, seriously? You had all these chances to make it so that when a guy who is a salamander shows up, it was your friend, I believe, Jor, Jor was playing specific. I think for a while he was
Anti-Sky.
doing random Anti-Sky. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Anti-Sky. They were doing particular random stuff, and then some people we had, like Cyanide, who I believe was perfectly aligned with, it might have been Salamanders for him. I would love to be able to jump in and not even look and just go,
Yep.
of my friend list, that is for sure Cyanide. I can tell because of how not only just how he looks, but his weapon types. What about sound effects? Those kind of things you can do now. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to abilities, I would say Path of Exile is probably still better, though. I do want to give a shout out to Indy. Indy doesn't have any great shakes when it comes to it, but I like that you find books and then you have to read the books, even though this fucked every person I know who didn't read the books. So they had the books, they didn't open the books, and didn't get the pluses. And that happened to a lot of people in our chat, man. I think it was Solar. Yeah, it was Solar. Solar was like, dude, I didn't read those books for a long fucking time. And then realized, like, you open them up and suddenly it's like plus this, plus that. You can now do this. And he's like, oh, okay. I probably should have checked. Because we're so accustomed to, grabbing and you've got it on you. And that's all that matters. But yeah, it's a cool discussion, man. I'm glad these games have come out this year with all of these different systems, because to see Space Marine 2 do so well, and do it that way, and then to see Path of Exile, you certainly can't bitch about Path of Exile. I mean, that game has done, gangbusters. It's obviously done insanely well for itself. Do you think you guys will, or not Reg, because I know he will, but do you think, Johnny, you will go and maybe play more Path of Exile?
Yeah, I think so. I played Path of Exile, the first game. I got to all like the end game stuff, and then I stopped when I got bored of just the end game grind. But yeah, I liked it a lot. PoE2 looks great, but I'm not gonna get in on the early access. I don't see any reason to. It will eventually come out, and then I'll play it.
Reading here from Oregon Fresh, she says, I'm with Reg. PoE's 2 gem system is legit. Dead Captain James says PoE skill gems and tree is the best. I was really nervous and overwhelmed at first, but it's way easier than PoE 1. Interesting. I've never heard people say it was easier, but that's that makes sense, actually, because I think it's more.
Well,
yeah, it's probably more visually.
It's already easier, as far as I know, that you can refund skill points from the skill tree, which I don't think is a thing in the first one.
I don't think it is either.
But you had to pay. Like you had to get skill points.
When you did, Johnny, did you have to pay commensurate with how far you had gone? Like if you wanted to respec your 100th level, blah blah blah, it was like 10,000 gold versus 100.
Yes, yeah.
So the cost
more you had to respect, the cost.
The cost was intrinsically tied to what you were doing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can go back into your own stream if it's been down that long. That's what I'm trying.
I'm still in there and people are still chatting.
And I didn't hit end stream.
And it still says that 252 people are watching.
It says excellent connection. There we go. We're up and running. Look at that.
Damn.
Like nothing happened. Nothing at all. It was exactly was exactly what we had planned the entire time.
Exactly.
Hey, guess what, guys? We're back. Anyway, sorry, we had an issue with, at least here or in a couple places with the internet. I lost the Discord as well. Had to sign on the East Coast, but I was able to do it. What were we talking about? We were talking about best, and I'll merge
bosses.
these later. Best bosses. So did you guys give yours? I hadn't given mine yet. All right. No. Do you have one?
For me, it would be probably the final Act 1 boss of Path of Exile 2. Is
that the worm?
That no, that's the wolf guy.
The wolf guy. Okay, yeah, the wolf guy. All right. Yeah, dude, the worm guy was tough for me. The wolf guy was pretty tough. What did you like about him? Just his design?
I liked about it that with the first character I played, which was not the mercenary, it was the monk, I think, is the first one I went through. That I didn't have an easy time at first. But I felt really, satisfied when I finally did manage to get the boss down. I had that feeling of success when I finally got through.
How many times would you say that took you?
For the first time, I don't know.
A lot?
I know I stopped playing for one day and then continued the next one because I was like, okay, I've tried often enough for today.
Yeah. It's 3 a.m. and you're like, all right, I gotta go to sleep. I gotta try this.
And then with the mercenary though, it's a different kind of liking it. I didn't die once in the first whole act.
Oh, really?
including the final boss. I was just no death through the whole thing. It was so much easier to play.
Was that what? Do you think that was your skill? Do you think it was the character?
No, it's the class plus knowing already what the moves are.
Okay, gotcha. So it was learned. You had learned what
it was for sure the class that I find easier to play,
mm-hmm.
And already knowing the boss moves and knowing what to expect.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Johnny? Any bosses that you absolutely love?
I give you mine. It would be the tiger guy from Wukong.
Oh yeah, tiger guy. Yeah, tiger guy. Yeah, the tiger guy from Wukong was equal parts infuriating and equal parts just awesome. And then the sense of entitlement is, or not entitlement, sorry, that would be even funnier if you had a sense of entitlement when you're done. The sense of actual satisfaction of defeating him was really high. And I do think he was a little unfair. I don't know if you felt that way, Johnny. I actually felt that there were times where he was pretty unfair in some of the stuff he could do, and the difficulties at times taking him down. Some of the moves he had, I talked about that teleport move that he had where like he goes invisible for a second and you're just sort of like, oh God, this guy's going to school me. But overall,
I thought it was less annoying than other bosses in the game. So people know in the game, bosses tend to have a lot of those teleporty moves where they go invulnerable and you just have to wait out and like dodge, like teleporting attacks and stuff. I thought other bosses were much more annoying. At least I could kind of understand what the tiger was doing in a way. And it felt like there was counterplay to it.
Okay, that's fair.
A bit more.
Yeah. I think I told you, like, I had to go back after a while and sort of switch out armor. And then once I did that, I was like, oh, man, of course. I just hadn't put two and two together. This all makes sense. They had a ton of good bosses. I was also thinking if there was a terrible boss. It sounds like maybe the end of Metaphor. That boss sounds like he was horrendous. Like if we just went with straight, like, terrible bosses. Like
I didn't like it personally, but then again, it was also down to how my leveling journey went in that game. So, I also didn't like the boss in Wukong. He was at the end of chapter 5, so a lot of people won't have played. They might not know what I'm talking about, but he's kind of like a Minotaur-looking guy.
Yeah.
And he just had a second phase where he like slows you down and stops your healing. You can't use your abilities. Just kind of cucks you completely, and you have to like get through that. I did not enjoy that, and that entire act, in fact, was it just like killed my enjoyment a little bit.
Yeah, I think I remember we were in here and you were talking about it. You were mentioning that had really had really curbed a lot of your enjoyment, that one boss, which can happen in a game like a Dark Souls style game or whatever. It happened to me in Elden Ring, happened to me in all the Dark Souls where there's a particular boss I just don't like. There's something about him. And I mean, can a game hit if it's got 20, 30, 40 bosses? It's probably pretty rare that a person's going to play it and not find a boss they didn't like. That seems, I think that's why I give those games a chance if there is a boss I didn't like in those games. Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, there are 30 bosses here. This one just doesn't work for me. And I usually don't hold it against the game for the most part. Ransom says Mesmer was pretty sick. Bitler says teleportation as an enemy mechanic is really confused. Faced so many in-game this year.
Overused, he says.
Oh, overused. Sorry, I put the screen really small here. Soul Sleeper says Ornstein and Smog, Dark Souls are my favorite and gratifying victories. Yeah, I guess you can use games you won this year. As long as you played them in 2024, or he might just be saying of all time. What else do we got for like? Is there anything in 2000? How about this? I did want to talk about tech. So, did you guys see the leak about the 5090?
Yes.
So
or
here's
the 5080.
5080. Sorry. So
Yeah.
here's what's great. Here's what is incredibly exciting about the leak. Two things. One, it costs an arm and a leg. It makes the 4090 look ridiculously cheap. I like that for the other reason that I'm going to mention. There is no, from what I can tell and what was on the boxes, there's no hardware restrictions for there's no new DLSS 5.0 that they have hardware for. It feels like it is a pure horsepower upgrade. So I'm really excited for that. But that also reminded me of the tech as I went back, as I saw that last night. I was thinking, like, what should we talk about? I was like looking at tech this year, like what different things in tech excite me or have excited me in 2024. And weirdly enough, I'm going to say this even though I don't use it. I think that Sony making the PSVR 2 compatible with the PC is pretty fucking massive. It shows a general, well, it showed that it probably didn't do well. Okay, we'll get that out of the way. But it is a good headset overall. It's available on Windows. I think it shows that these companies are starting to look at every single platform now. And, you know, Microsoft may be ahead on that, but I don't see that that's going to stop with Microsoft. I feel Sony's going to continue the PC, you know, putting things on PC. They both could possibly put things on the Switch. So I'm going to put my contentious or controversial opinion this year is the thing that we've all liked for the last 2 or 3 decades or has helped us, which is at times exclusives. There are less. They are moving to other devices, and I think that we are in a time when you look at tech and where it is that it makes sense. Whether it be GeForce Now and streaming and a person not needing a PC to basically play PC games if they want, you know, if they don't want to spend $2,500 on the best this, the best that, blah, blah, blah. That's my sort of tech. I guess I would say the big innovation I saw this year was every single company, Nintendo aside, they have an old Switch. We'll have to see how they handle the Switch too. But that was my big, like, sort of thing I took away from 2024 is the companies are starting to make changes, something that we've bitched about for years that they never did. And
Yeah.
we hate now that they're making changes, but in a weird way, I'm looking at it going, I sort of get it, man, because I don't know about you guys. I'm playing games everywhere. I'm playing games streaming. I'm playing them on handhelds. I'm playing them on my PC. Then I move to a streamed PC version, Moonlight. I got it right.
Yep.
Good job, Carrick. Moonlight and Sunshine are game changers for somebody who has any kind of streaming device in their home. They can they can play local, but they can also stream to their. It's fantastic. The Portal attempted this. I'm just really excited for it, man. I think that it helps everybody where those ecosystems allow for you to bounce around and play the games, which ultimately, I know the PC, Reg uses his PC for stuff, and I use my PC for stuff, and you use your PC stuff for non-games. But ultimately, we're a gaming podcast, and what I'm talking about is the ability for people to play games on whatever device they want. We're getting there, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to embrace it. I think exclusives are great for showing the power of a system a lot of times, but I feel like I'm okay with it. Maybe that's just, maybe I've got some Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. What do you guys think for tech this year? Was there new tech? I saw the bendable monitor. It's not 2024, but I saw that bendable monitor ad. Is it weird to you, Reg, that you bend things a bunch of times to break them and they sell you a bendable monitor? I'm all, that's how I break things if I don't have a knife.
No, I'm more like, why the heck would I bend it?
Yeah, right. Or you would have it. You would buy it bent. You know, you would buy it.
Yeah, exactly. I like right here. I have the ultra wide, which has like the little curve, and that's the curve it's built for. I don't want
an ultra,
something like that.
I always wondered, what is the use case for you to want to change the curvature?
There you go.
Is it like one mode you want curved, another?
No,
like
if you sold it to me like, compared to this monitor, it's much lighter now and it's still stable, for example. Okay. Cool. Because this monitor is heck to carry around. I don't want to carry that anywhere else ever.
Yeah.
I don't want to bend it.
Was there any tech, like hardware stuff this year? It could be a controller even. Go for it.
So 2 things for me. One, keyboards have made some innovations. Like there's been the Wooting keyboard, which is the one that I have now.
Okay.
But other brands are kind of following suit, and they are exploring, low activation profiles and like different ways to allow you. On one hand, you can have the analog experience of like, soft pressing a
Sure.
keyboard key.
Almost like
and that
membranes. Membrane? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And then, maybe that mapping to what a controller would do, like where in a game you can have the ability to like slow walk by soft pressing a key instead. That's really cool. Or if you play games like I do, like League of Legends, it does matter if you can press a key really quickly, like from the moment you want to press it to the moment it takes effect. If you can shave off a few milliseconds there, it is actually noticeable in some cases. So that's really cool to see. The other thing is the proliferation. It's a difficult word, but I think that's correct. Yeah,
you nailed it.
The proliferation.
Damn it! I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah, it just proliferation of portable devices, because it used to be that we had like the Steam Deck, we had Switch, and that was pretty much the market, right? And now we have just a plethora of different devices. The Legion, we're now getting like the second generation of some of these devices, which hopefully we'll see some big improvements. I think that just kind of opened up the Pandora's box, so to speak, where we can have much more competition, and
it feels good to get it feels good to get the second gen too, because number one, it just indicates the first gen worked, which is like opposite of Steam machines. Let's say when they first did Valve did the. True. Now we're getting the Steam Deck. We got the Steam Deck OLED.
No.
Right. And we're seeing, and by the way, like in your brain, especially if you talk to some Steam Deck convert, you would be easily believed if you assumed they sold 800 million. Like if you hear somebody talk about Steam Deck, it's like some kind of weird, creepy religion that's in the Southwest. But they haven't sold that many. But it does indicate that like those people really like the device. The ROG Ally, despite all of its issues, is doing well with its fix, we'll call it hardware revision 2, because their revision 1 was a piece of shit. It was a terrible device, but they've done a good job fixing it. They are still liars. They're still a bad company. I'm just saying, I can still look at the device and not blame the device. It's not them. It's, and then you have the Legion, and then you have all these 1X Player Pros, which by the way, I've got one, but those are fucking freakishly expensive. I don't even understand their pricing idea compared to like Legion and stuff. Now we get these sequels. Yeah, it's exciting times to be able to jump around and do it. And without the Switch, this wouldn't be a thing, right? I don't think it would be. I think the Switch is what moved everybody into seeing that a handheld game device is completely feasible, not only for a small number of people, but obviously for if you do it right. For what did they sell? I think they eclipsed PlayStation just recently. I think they're like the number one. Isn't the Switch like the best-selling device of all time when it comes to like game platforms? It broke another record. I know that much. What about you, Reg? Is there anything though that popped up hardware-wise this year that has been impressive? Even if it's like GPT, something you've done on that side.
I mean, the only device, the real new device type I got a lot of use out of is the Steam Deck OLED.
Gotcha.
Since I got a Steam Deck, it pretty much replaced my Switch completely.
Yeah, because you can emulate Switch games on it.
Not that.
Or can you not?
More like before that, I used the Switch as also a portable PC of sorts by just buying the games I wanted to play on the go again, even if I had them on Steam on Switch again. Now I just
makes sense.
Can play my Steam library.
Yeah. Nah, man, it's great. Like that kind of stuff. It's phenomenal seeing it, and I think that overall, that's like one of the biggest technological switches this year. Again, it's not going to please everybody. I think the thing that, how about this? What do we want the most in 2025? The reason why I ask that is because I have a definitive answer that has been since 2021. Better battery tech. And by the way, this is mine. It doesn't have to be yours.
Okay.
But fucking better battery tech. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Steam Deck again. I like it. I like the OLED. But the standby battery for that thing is abysmal.
What? Explain what that means. For
I switch it off with 100% charge, or even power it off. Go in the menu and say shut down. I take it back like 3 days later and it's empty.
Damn. So
where's it going, man? The power is just
got to be running.
out.
It's got to be leaking out through that. Can you feel weird question on your second day? Have you ever grabbed it and felt? Is there warmth? Like
I never did.
Never
that.
tested.
It's usually
I
put it away for a couple of days, then I want to use it again, and it's empty.
Bitlerist says GFN native app for Xbox. I will say that's good. Bit. I think that'd be great. And if my Samsung TV is any indication of what you can do with a native app, I'm all for it, because my Samsung TV's GFN app might be better than a PC my current Windows PC, little handheld PC running it. I was blown away how good the Samsung apps are. Just stunned. So battery tech then, maybe also software to say, hey, fucking, I said turn off, really turn off. Right?
Yeah.
really.
Apparently for the Steam Deck, you have to go into the BIOS and then you can enter the battery saver mode, which actually turns it off completely.
Oh,
but then you have to plug in a power supply to boot it up again. So it's really off.
So it's their battery saver really is just like battery off in the BIOS. Interesting. Okay. It's cool to hear you having replaced your Switch, because I thought you were saying just for emulation, but what you're saying is like just overall, just playing them natively on.
It is my mobile gaming device.
Damn.
And
that's awesome.
I didn't try any of the others. So maybe CES is coming up now, like a couple days.
Yeah.
We'll see what kind of stuff gets announced there. Maybe one of the newer ones look pretty attractive.
You know,
great too.
For Steam Deck, I think your big issue probably is going to be what? Comfort is probably going to be the main one, and then portability's later, right? Portability matters a little less, or does portability matter more than like most other things?
I mean, the Steam Deck is pretty chunky. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's carpenter pants portable.
It is pretty chunky.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's more the usability of actually just being able to switch it on, go into the settings with a button press and change the frame rate limit and stuff like that. If usability like that is there, okay, cool.
Yeah. I to me, I want the same, like your thing with Steam. I don't have it with the Legion as much, luckily, or the ROG or all my others. Most of them, they do. If you turn them off, they're off for the most part.
Yeah.
And they last a little longer. But the big thing that I find is their battery life, even on my Steam Deck, it's just, even with the improvements of OLED, the battery life on these things, for the size, for what you want, it's not there yet. That's and the portability of it. I don't mind putting, you know me, and you did this too. You got your VR headset. Sometimes you have a battery bank in your pocket, but it's like truly portable. I would really like to just have a contained unit with a battery that lasted a little longer than they did. They just they get eaten up. So, and if you want any performance, they get eaten up even faster.
Like by comparison, I can use my laptop for easily 10 hours without the socket, and that's let's go.
Yeah, and it works.
If you can get me anywhere near that with a gaming console, please.
Even
that's the goal for me.
I don't care how okay, I have a question for you. Sorry, Johnny. I'll get to you in a second, but I wanted to ask you. What if the battery was also in the control? What if the battery was some kind of membrane or whatever, and it's also in the controllers? You unplug the controllers if you ever wanted to, and so you'd lose a little, but let's say they're plugged in. Do you care about the replaceability of the battery in those?
I mean, the Steam Deck is not
replaceable. Okay.
That you can just put in some AA's or something like that.
Right.
You can open it up easily enough and replace it, sure, but it's not like intended to be so snip replaceable.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, if it means not detaching, my Legion has the pops, and I rarely take them off because I'm playing the fucking thing. If I want to play it on on a screen, I'm using a mouse and keyboard because it's a Windows device, so it's like it just works. I have no issue if they figure out a way, where the handles have battery in it too, and it can last longer because it's bigger. I don't want it too heavy. The Legion is chunk. The Legion's definitely the heaviest of the bunch. That thing, it's also to me the most comfortable. But
I will say though that given the choice of a device where I can at least open it up and replace the battery myself if need be, versus something that's just sealed in completely and forget it forever,
you'd much
I
rather
take the one where I can just replace it.
Yeah, agreed with that. What about a specialist battery that had to be bought for that specific device, but it was interchangeable, like some of the new VR headsets have like a 4-minute battery?
Oh, I got some of those. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, okay. Johnny, tech innovation that you want to see in 2025?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about like hot swappable batteries for some of these handhelds. So like for example, the headset that I use has a hot swappable system where has a little dock. There are 2 batteries, right? One is always charging. I just swap it out when the battery's done, so I never have an issue. Now I know it's probably not as feasible with the big chunky battery of, some of these handhelds to maybe have it removable. That might not be possible. But I think in principle, at least it is. It's just that you would need to shell out the money for an extra battery, right?
And the design, making sure the airflow and stuff. But I love your idea. I would have no issues with it.
Yeah, because if I could have one charging, and all I have to do is like walk to the living room or whatever, get the new battery, pop it back in. I'm okay with that. I used it as an excuse to stretch my legs anyway. I can go back to playing my game. It's not at least as bad.
I would also say I don't need it to be long either. I'm legitimately mean this. If it would run for 4 minutes, so you had 4 minutes of battery, you unplug the old battery, you have 4 minutes of internal battery to keep that system running. As you go and you grab the other battery, I can't tell you how many times I've seen a tablet be almost dead, and by the time I get a USB to plug in, it's dead. And I'll be like, you son of a bitch. Like, I'm trying, I'm pausing it so it's not using, and I've got a USB, but it doesn't fit in the side exactly because I've twisted, and then by the time I get there, it dies. 4 minutes, 5 minutes, just that hot. What headset are you guys using with the swappable? Is that the Quest?
I got the Quest 3.
Quest 3. Okay. What about yours, Johnny?
You're talking about VR headsets?
Yeah.
I was just talking about this headset right now.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Steel Series.
Okay. And Reg was talking about a full VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 2 new VRs I know of that are being announced, one's already been announced, they have internal batteries. So they last for a particular amount of time for you to unplug the main battery completely, switch it out. And I think that's just gorgeous because that means, you could do all kinds, because these batteries charge to a small amount very quickly, or 50%. So it's like you don't even need it to be at 100. You could switch out 50%, and you would know that you would have uninterrupted gaming for an extraordinary amount of time. And that would just, I think that would please me, at least for the most part. Also, I would like something, we saw this with the Quest. I don't know if you guys were impacted, but the big firmware bricking thing that occurred last week, where the update happened and bricked like millions of fucking Quest users. Now Meta's looking at returns and all. Yeah.
Not unless it's self-updated, and I didn't notice yet.
In the future, I would love the ability for every device out there to just be able to delay any updates. Like, so if I turn it on, it says you have an update waiting. Great. Waiting means something to me. It means not fucking happening right now. And when you look at this Meta one, that was a pretty big disaster. Amudsky was in there talking about it. He sent me some Reddit links that it was like, oh man, this hit some people who hadn't updated, I guess, in a while. And then when they went, it was like the main update. No. So it would be great, not a voting system, but you know how Windows just had their big patch that really fucked a bunch of Ubisoft games up? It would be great to be able to look and go, okay, I have a handheld device that's got this kind of patch for, and you're able to just say, can I look at if this is working for people before you fucking take over everything and update my headset, which, by the way, is a standalone device. So if it does go wrong, I can't even connect.
Opt into the update delay package for $4.99 a month now.
Yeah. Oh my God, a microtransaction for delaying. Okay,
Yep.
that would suck balls and would not surprise
that's
me.
the way it would be.
Yeah, that is the way it would be. So I guess hopefully nobody's listening to that. Let's not do what I said. I like the idea, but I don't want to pay for the man. That is what would happen too.
Yep.
That is exactly what would happen, wouldn't it? Damn. Yeah. See, that sucks balls.
Because the free-to-play users are then the beta testers, and
yeah, that's exactly. And because they don't pay, they're not protected, right?
Yep.
Which is how we sort of treat things right now.
Yep.
You were talking about CES. We've got NVIDIA's going to be there. Microsoft, Jason Ronald, who is the Xbox king of next gen. He's the one building next gen systems. He's going to be at the Lenovo event, where they're talking about Lenovo's new device, which I think Lenovo has 3. If I've read my PR right, one is Windows, one is Windows and Steam, and one might just be Steam, maybe.
Yep.
It's okay. So we've got Microsoft going. Sony's already got the port. Everybody's sort of jumping on handheld. And then the leak of the 5080. Is there any other leaks for CES? There's the bendable. There's transparent monitors. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was wild. So it's a glass, you can see right through it, and then it becomes a monitor with about 98% opaqueness, which is not bad when you consider it's clear. I would love to see that for, let's say, this is going to sound really highfalutin. I'm not Linus Tech Tips, but if I had the money, that would be amazing to have in a kitchen or something where it didn't look like a tablet, and then you could go in and, display something, if you were like recipes or stuff in your kitchen. And then there was one more project or display device thing that I was thinking of. Oh shit. Oh, I saw one that the TV comes out, it rolls out of a bezel. I thought that was pretty interesting, where it's like your end table, and then it comes out. Game controllers. I would love to see. Microsoft supposedly has a patent out for a game controller with movable haptics, meaning the motors are able to move inside the gamepad for some reason. Now,
like shifting weight or
shifting
something?
weight, or that's exactly what I was thinking when I read it. I was like, okay, that's an interesting idea. And I don't know if you guys remember, Microsoft in their leaked documents was going to release a controller 3 months ago that was supposed to connect directly to the internet when you're playing your cloud games to improve latency, but they didn't. So I was like, I wonder if they're going to put these two things together. But do you guys have an idea of why you would want movable, like why it would matter that you had movable tactile? It almost makes me feel they want the controller to feel like things are going on in the hands. Like, why would you want a movable tactile motor in your controller?
I don't know. I can only imagine a demo game where you have some carton with some marbles inside, and then you feel where the marbles are.
Okay. That sounds like an expensive controller, Sonar says. Dude, straight up, it sounds expensive.
Because to me, that like invites the kind of demo games you saw with the Switch.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, how many ice cubes are in that thing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the Switch 2's leak as well indicates that the Joy-Cons pop off and become laser pointers, and that would probably be for Wii U compatibility. Which that excites me because it sounds like they're full compatible. They said that in their last financial report that this new device will be backwards compatible with every device. So if you want Wii U games, you have to be able to meet the Wii U halfway, which was a bastard of a device in the first place.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so there's some definite like movement in the tech space when it comes to controllers. I'm excited for. Trying to think of anything else on this. CES is so weird for me, guys, because it feels like you have to be rich to care. Or
that's true. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Here's a new 16K TV that you can't afford.
Yeah, or the transparent, a transparent screen is great, but it doesn't feel like it's for even the people we're talking about too.
Yeah,
But even
the
for
front
myself.
screen, when you described it, the only thing I could think of is really like super fancy office spaces.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, doctor's office. It's like, we're going to show you how we're going to snip your nuts. What were you saying?
Here's where's your money going.
It's just it's a bill. That's how they show you your bill. It's like, this thing's big. Go ahead, Johnny. What were you saying?
Well, LG is showing some new TVs. They have a new lineup called QNED, QNED. So it's kind of like OLED pretty much, but with some like AI enhanced stuff.
Oh, yeah. So let's
like
slap
an
some
AI
more
processor.
AI on
Yep, slap AI on it.
Dude, I hope we
they're-
get more AI on shit.
Yeah.
They're claiming like true 4K on wireless. Whoever wants to, to do wireless.
Okay, well, true 4K wireless, I would be excited for simply because I do stream, and I have good devices that they're not near. That's a problem, right? HDMI 2. By the way, HDMI 2.2 is coming out at this CES. Did you guys hear about that? Dude, I don't know what they need to fix or handshake issues, obviously, but yeah, 2.2 is going to be announced. Hopefully it's not like USB 3.2.A1.3.4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that it's a mess, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's almost like a rich person talking about their problems, and you're like, those are real problems for a real rich person, but they're not the same problems that like the normal guy is dealing with. HDMI is coming out. 2.2, which will probably, in some ways they're going to try to build on that with TVs and stuff. AI is big. All the TVs have AI now. I mean, every device. I love
Everything
AI,
has
and even
because if you slap an AI, it's worth at least 3 times as much.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. And all of it is, like you're saying, just fancy stuff. Like LG is showing a lamp that doubles as an indoor garden where you can grow fucking fruit plants inside of your house.
What? What the fuck does that even mean?
Dude,
what are you doing?
It's a tiny.
And they put AI on that. It's the opposite AI. It's the most
lamp.
biological thing. Growing something in a garden is as anti-AI as you could possibly imagine.
It's tiny, dude. So it's a floor lamp with the smallest surface you can imagine.
I see a picture. Nice.
Where you can grow like 2 fruit plants in it or something. Like, it's tiny.
So we've talked about this before. My big problem with AI when it comes to on the chips and on the laptops and stuff is that, especially when you look at them being on CPUs, for instance, they're taking up space where the CPU wafer would have space for other things. That's the one problem I have, because AI, I love the idea of, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but battery tech AI is actually pretty good. They've shown the AI keeping batteries lasting longer by adjusting to the people's, their use cases and all that kind of, I like those ideas, but I don't want them on the chips. And we're seeing that everywhere. AMD, of course, has, AI in all their chips now. It's like shared a file. What is this?
That's the lamp.
What the is that?
So,
let me see if I can show this to the people. Hang on one second. I'm not even 100% sure what in the hell I'm seeing. And they're saying
they also have a second variant of that.
And they say it has to do with AI in some way?
I didn't see, in this article, I didn't see AI, but it is in the AI section of the website, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Johnny
honestly.
finding those odd-ass devices. Would you guys... do you guys need to plant something?
Man.
It is dystopian. That's exactly right. That's okay. So everybody can see this. This is the plant device that we're talking about. I'm just going to blow this up. So this is over the top of our faces right now. All right. So
Amazing.
it is in the AI section. It is in the AI section. It's a okay. Wait a minute. Do you think it has to do with the light that it's given? Maybe it's the AI is like, man,
maybe adjusting it for the plant time.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Know.
Yeah, maybe adjusting for the plant times.
Oh,
there you go, people. And look at the baby stool next to it. That's the size of...
Okay, there we go. That's probably the AI part. The lamp comes equipped with a 1.5-gallon water tank and automatically dispenses the right amount of water and nutrients for the number and variety of plants being grown.
That's awesome. Okay, I don't mean it's awesome like I want it, but that's sort of awesome that's what it's for. Also, guys, you can just buy a planter for $5. You don't need to get a whole new light for it.
You could.
Yeah, and guys, you can water it. Like, I know it's crazy, but you can water it every 2 days. And
you probably could just buy new plants every single week.
Yeah. And you would never, by the way, eclipse the cost of that lamp.
Buy fresh strawberries at the supermarket for a fraction.
If you need a sunflower, do that. So it's just like, I love the idea of AI. Use it all the time for helping me research. It's fucking unbelievably fantastic, like that kind of stuff. But taking part and replacing parts of an APU, a GPU, a CPU, we're not there yet, and it's now in everything, which really sucks because it eats up a little space, whether it be a little L2 cache, whatever. You don't have unlimited space. They're not making them bigger. They're quite literally removing parts.
Did you see the O3 tests talking about AI?
No, what?
So there was that hype going around. It's like, oh, we got general intelligent AI stuff like that. So it's like, first off, no.
Yeah, no.
It was a series of logic puzzles that they throw in, and the solve rate was fairly high for AI. But then for every single puzzle that it solved, in the low model, it took, I think, 1.5 minutes. And in the big model, it took 13.5 minutes. And it's the kind of logic puzzles that would take a human probably maybe on average 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes.
Maybe. If I don't know how complex they get and how long you take to like recognize the pattern.
And the amount of energy you're throwing.
And in the high model, at least, the energy usage of this is, I think, eight tanks of gas.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous.
One of those logic puzzles.
That's ridiculous. So when you look at the TV stuff, though, I am excited for, let's say, alternating. So I don't like automatic brightness. I hate it. Everybody, I do bitch about it a lot. So
on screens, I always turn that off.
Yeah. So, but I like the idea of AI figuring out different ways to handle energy use, all that kind of stuff. I think that's great. I weirdly enough am highly impressed by something I never thought I would say. I don't think I've ever said this. The audio on my Samsung TV is directional, where it's one large speaker and it moves the sound where the person is. And I don't use it. I've replaced it with my theater system. But I got to say, that's the first time where I've been listening to audio for a game on a TV and been like, what the shit, that's good audio. Like that was, so if you don't have a home theater and that's all you do have, and I was cranking it, no bass. They use AI to curb the reverberations. It's always checking to make sure they're not killing the speaker. All smart stuff. That was great. But overall, the TVs now are infected with AI on everything too. And what's funny is my OS on this Samsung is 10 times better. The OS on the old one took, I'm not lying, if you hit left, I could legitimately put the thing down and sit, and then it'd go blink because it was old. The new one, much faster, but the same problems exist. Got to rename this to PC if you want it to do 444 light, color from your PC if you're taking an HDMI there. Oh, it's 60 FPS if you're taking a signal from this and you're doing this. Oh, it's 144 here, but then you have to adjust this. Do you know what I would love for AI? Would be to like what I like and say, would you please remember this fucking thing? And like, I don't want to have to name it with a remote. Even speaking into the remote, it's like, I wish the AI could fix HDR for Windows. Go like, dude, Jeremy's turned HDR off 90% of the time. Is it out of the ordinary to assume Jeremy doesn't want HDR at all if it's a fucking Windows signal? I do not, because Windows and HDR, they're fairly borked. Or the systems that reset, those kind of things. I would love to see those fixes come into TVs. I think that would be a huge bonus. We do see that the Xbox does a fairly good job with auto HDR. I've been pretty impressed with that. VRR, we're seeing that. I don't think you can even really get a TV that you would want to own now without VRR. That's really nice. Because in the old days, man, you could get a TV and it'd say, oh, it's 120 refresh rate, and not realize that's only at one specific resolution. It doesn't have VRR. Now we're starting to get TVs that even at the low level, even like TCL, cheaper TVs have a good deal of those improvements.
Dude, the Amazon Basics TV that they, has those things.
Yeah, it's great. It's good stuff. I think all that's great. They did the Willow quantum computer up to 110 qubits from what I read. Yeah. So if we're not going to dive too into that, but the quantum stuff with Willow in particular is mind-blowing if you want to look at what the future is, and if you also want to figure out how many suns we're going to fucking need to power it. Still pretty cool. Yeah. But the amount of power usage is... We thought Bitcoin was bad. Guys, remember, Reg and I talked about this on the podcast. We were talking about like, oh man, the heat, all this stuff with Bitcoin, nothing compared to AI. We found a way to up the power usage. Nintendo leaks suggest AI upscaling tech. So I can talk a little bit about that. Switch 2s, they leaked, somebody leaked maybe not leaked, maybe just found a patent for Nintendo's AI upscaling. It is using what you guys would assume. Takes a bunch of samples, puts them in blocks, figures out how to up-res. I think it's fairly safe to assume that any device ever now will have upscaling. I don't think upscaling's not going to happen on every device, right? It only makes sense, and it feels like a small amount of space or memory or what have you to do that kind of upscaling. So, yeah, Switch 2 was for sure going to have it. I mean, Christ, guys, my Fire Stick or Fire Cube from Amazon.
Yeah.
It has upscaling. Like, everything's going to have it. Audio upscaling's a thing too now, which I sort of do dig, where it cleans up old audio samples, removes pops. They say it's called upsampling. I would consider it more along the lines of cleaning up. Sampling.
Cleaning up.
Yeah, cleans it up. It makes it a little less harsh if it's bad.
Yeah, would be nice to see some of the TV technology come to monitors as well. It's kind of slowly trickling in.
You are right about that. You're or monitor stuff is slowly they're not.
Yeah,
equal.
It's slow.
For example, try to find a display port on a fucking TV. It's quite difficult. It's almost always HDMI, and a lot of them still don't have all 4 ports being the new HDMI. They'll do that shit where they're like, this supports
2.
Yep. They'll be like, we have 4.
One of them is eARC or whatever, which you might need for.
Outputting your HDMI signal. Yeah. For improving gaming as we go forward, I'd love to see all this kind of stuff. What other stuff for tech are we looking at or games? What about 2025 games? February's stacked. February.
Yeah, I think Monster Hunter is definitely something I'm excited for.
Oh my God, I forgot about it. That's March or April or June or when is that?
Feb or March?
I don't think it's February, is it? Is it another big game? I feel like no one would allow that. I feel like somebody's got to put a hold on February. Somebody's got to be like, dude, we can't do this. Yeah. What about
February, by the way. It is the 28th though, so it's last day of February.
Are you shitting me?
Yep, dropping on PS5.
Holy shit! February is.
Wait, is it? It's also Steam.
Was delayed. I think somebody said, oh, nope, they're saying something else. Okay, wow.
Yeah, that's the official date on Steam as well.
Reg, February, anything?
I have no clue what's coming.
Oh, are you doing that on purpose?
No, I didn't even check because I have my games.
Right now, nothing.
A lot during the Steam sale again. I don't even want to tempt myself too much because I know I will buy too many games either way.
All right, well, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 I know is not something you'll rush out to get, but I'm excited for that. And then, Wilds. Shadows I'm super excited for.
Oh, yeah.
And those are about 3 of the 9, I believe, when I last looked at February. It is ridiculous. And
damn.
Yeah.
Civilization 7.
Civilization 7, yeah. 1. Yeah. And they're doing some crazy stuff with that one.
And
I'm a big Civ fan.
Isn't the Yakuza pirate game also February?
There you go. Dude,
like a pirate.
This is like a pirate. If anybody calls it anything different, they're wrong. They're a bad person. Yeah, like a pirate. Yakuza Like a Pirate's coming out. And
okay, so there you go. I already had some.
And I believe they said will be much longer than Man Who Erased His Name, but will not be as long as Infinite Wealth, which I think is a good... I'm okay with that. I wouldn't mind it even being shorter because it seems like a side game, but Another
Yeah.
Infinite Wealth. Infinite Wealth is huge, man. Dude, I saw some of you guys in the stream like 2 weeks. Avowed is another one. Yeah, Bitlerist.
Dude, I lost a whole week just on the island. That was a mini game, an optional mini game.
I wish you had streamed when Solar did, because he was so hating the island and he didn't know you could leave on the Dolphin. So he was stressed out by not being able to leave, and the idea that you spent so much time on it is fun. That dichotomy there.
Loved it, man.
It feels like the island reminds me a little bit of like what you guys said with the arena in Metaphor, that it either worked for you or it didn't, and you wanted away from it, like, or you didn't want to experience it at all. It feels like
but
Infinite
it
Wealth.
was just for fun at the end of the day. I think the thing with Yakuza is they have so many mini games and activities that even if only one lands, that's already a win, because they have so many and each is so well fleshed out that you could spend a lot of time in, each one of them.
So Oregon Fresh asks a question I do want to answer. He says, what's special about Civ 7? There's a couple things. First of all, I really like the different characters they're adding in, but they also have basically stated that they've gone in and redone all of the end game, not only to make sure that turns don't take 6 fucking weeks from the CPU when you got into the end game of Civ. Sometimes even in the newer ones, they've definitely supposedly fixed that. But I believe what they were saying was that the end game in and of itself is smoothed out so that you can still minimax, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot of, I guess you would say, efficiencies or AI. I don't want to say that, but there's something there.
You gotta say AI.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna say AI, but there's
make stonks go up.
Oh God, I'm gonna use AI bot to buy my crypto coin. But yeah, it seems like Civ 7 is a true, not a remake or anything, but it feels like they've gone and they've identified the problems we've had. And they said that was 6 though, and I can't remember if 6 nailed it. It's been a while. I don't remember if 6 got great reviews or not. Yeah, so I don't know that. So maybe it's a hollow promise. And then AC Shadows and Hollow Knight. Ransom says, "Here's hoping Hollow Knight Silk Song comes out in 2025." Anybody want to make bets on that?
That
shit
one
happen?
has been coming for a long time, man.
True.
We're the international podcast, by the way. When that first was talked about, it's a long time.
There you go. And the same for Subnautica 2. They've been working on that for a long time and should come out this year.
So let's talk about games that should come out. I sent Reg this morning. This year was the second highest year ever of Star Citizen's fundraising.
Right.
Only by 2 million did it not achieve it. Now, there's a couple reasons. One is that they have had some amazing showings. They finally showed the single player. They showed some what looked to be really fun stuff. A lot of people in my Discord have played it. I'm sure
crazy cast.
A crazy cast. I'm sure people are going to bitch, but I just want to talk about, like, it shows that there is a severe interest in those space games. It's not just Star Citizen. I mean, No Man's Sky is still going strong. Space games are a big deal. But what I saw looked pretty goddamn good, and holy shit, are they? It's in the 100 million a year. They're fundraising 100 million a year. I mean, there are big space games cost less than 100 million.
Yeah.
By the way, we did test the server shard thing. I don't know if you guys know what that one is, but basically it's transparent server bumping so that you never get any kind of like graphical impression that you're moving between servers. And Indio has played it and said that it works. It is legit. Cool. Yeah. So that's something that Star Citizen has been pressing for a long time. So we'll have to see. And then my question to you guys, is there any MMOs that are in any way, shape, or form like have been announced? I feel like the MMO genre has died for like.
There is the Dune MMO, right?
Okay.
This year.
You hit it. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton outside of just teasers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you got that. I'm not a big MMO, guy. I'll play the occasional one. I'm not a Dune guy either. The idea of running around in an eternal desert is exactly as anti kind of game as I want to play. Like the idea of doing a Dune MMO.
It's true, but remember, like, what's the game we always talk about? The desert game, open world.
desert game open world. I feel like when we figure this out, I'm gonna feel like
Mad Max with
Mad Max.
Chumbucket.
Okay, Chumbucket. Yeah,
Chumbucket. That turned out to be really fun, and that was all in the desert.
Yeah, that was really fun, but it's not an MMO.
Plus,
but
we have sandworms, Carrick.
We do, but it's still in the desert. I don't know, man. We'll have to see how that goes. Ref says, I wouldn't say the MMO genre has died, but it does seem to be trickling. Well, when I say die, that's all I mean, is that it's certainly not,
Yeah, it seems to be like the I don't know, 5 mainstay MMOs, and the rest pops up for half a year and is gone again.
And somehow WoW has 3 versions of itself.
Yeah,
or what is it, 2? I guess they've got normal and classic.
Well, isn't it 3 now?
I thought it was 3. That's why I said it, because I thought Luciden had said there were 3, but I know there's. I know all I know is
they
normal
restarted classic, like classic, or something like that.
Do you need an account for each one?
It's one pay.
That's nice.
One subscription.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank God. I was gonna say, here we go.
No.
What else do we got before we wrap it up? I'm trying to think if there's any other amazing news or any other cool things. I think overall, 2024 was a fucking pretty stellar year.
Yeah,
I've been really happy with a lot of games. There were a couple, misses here and there, but I don't know about you guys. I feel like in general, I've been really happy with a lot of the games this year. Black Myth turned out to be as good as I expected, which was really nice, because that one could have been dog shit.
Yeah.
I mean, what dog shit games did we even get? Like, what games just absolutely, were hammered shit this year? I'm sure there are some. That's why I'm asking. But it's like,
I don't think even Concord was like a bad game.
No, Concord wasn't a bad game. It was just bland.
Yeah, it just flopped. But
that's what I said, though, Johnny, earlier when I said console. Not only console companies are making changes.
That unlaunched the next day and wasn't what it was supposed to be, right? The day before,
the day before, yeah, the day after.
True.
Yeah. That was
that's
that
like
was
one of the main
whatever.
standouts.
Also, I gotta say, I really feel like this Call of Duty is one of my favorites of all time. Not saying it's my favorite of all time.
I'm quite saying good.
It is quite good, super enjoyable. Wasn't in love with zombies, but as a whole, I have been really. Oh, Bit does say there's one miss. Rise of the Ronin. That was a miss. Yeah, that game is not.
Yeah.
That game was not very good. There's that one missed the mark. But yeah, I mean it's generally been a pretty good year. Other businesses shutting down, man.
Yeah.
So many people being laid off.
Flop of the Ronin, fall instead of rise.
That was a bad joke. You should have taken that back to
They
Formula.
had a crack.
You had a crack.
I had a crack.
And you took it, and that was a strikeout, by the way.
And we both flopped. They tried the open world, but hey, it's hard, man.
It is hard.
It's hard.
It is hard. And that's the thing that is weird, Johnny, is a lot of, I don't want, we had all the layoffs this year. It's like, just because Rise of Ronin didn't do well, doesn't mean I wouldn't love to see them try number 2 and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like,
or
okay.
Neo 3, whatever they want to do next.
But I mean, even if they called, I'm saying that would be a switch. I'm saying even if they said this first one didn't work, but we have some ideas, we want to make some change, I'm fine. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Like, release the damn thing. I don't run your fucking company. You get so many people who are like, I wish they were gone or whatever. And you're like, dude, seriously? I mean, do you really wish that like people were just unemployed? Feels better that people give a chance. I mean, I've been surprised more this year, I think, than depressed. Other than Concord, I really did want Concord to.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll bring it back in some form, though.
Oregon Fresh just missed the entire section. He says, "How you guys got through a whole gaming pod without a Marvel Rivals mention is pretty impressive. How you got through the entire first 30 minutes of the podcast and missed the entire Marvel Rivals / Rajaku ban is even more impressive, Oregon. Come on, man. Come on."
And unbanned.
and unbanned. Sorry, and unbanned. Yeah, he was unbanned. Many people were. What else do we have? Anything that's coming up? Anything? I've been messing around with image creators again. really having a good time. I saw Reg was in there too, with Mid-Journey, Flux, all those fucking around. Those have been fun.
Sora is
Sora's a nightmare.
way worse than expected.
Sora is 2 gens back minimum. So, I've never been so astonished at the lack of quality in something as I was with Sora. Dude, I didn't even know you guys were posting in there, and I was bitching to somebody else about it, and I went in and I saw you and I
was like, okay, this is not
Dopey
Joe,
Joe.
but whatever, let's go.
It's not even mid. It's worse. It is bad, man. I was trying to get it to do the most generic stuff, and people were warping. It doesn't listen to anything. Yeah. And that's Google's, right? Or is that no? That's Facebook's. Sora is Facebook or is Sora Google?
No, Sora is OpenAI.
Sora's OpenAI.
So that's Microsoft basically, or like 49%.
Oregon Fresh says, "Oh, I came in late. My bad, gents. I was actually giving props."
Oh, okay. Well, we ruined that.
We ruined your props. I don't know why you would give props about it because apparently people like it, but whatever. I love you. I'm just joking. Why Ma Gaming says this is the only place I hear anyone bash Rise of Ronin. Go outside, man. Because
check
the internet. I was gonna say we're really nice about Rise of Ronin.
They're really quite diplomatic about it.
Very. When you really could, or what we do is we say it, joke, and move on. But it's like what was it 2 weeks ago when people were starting to do their 2024. It was it was on multiple like disappointment of the year lists. So it's like, hey, but hey, you know what I'll do is I'll just say he's just watching a couple podcasts, so I appreciate that. We're one of the ones you watch. But hey, if you like it, you like it. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people liked Concord. And like we said, it's not necessarily bad. Rise of the Ronin, I think that's a little bit more debatable. Kind of sick of hearing about it already. This is Oregon Fresh. For Marvel Rivals.
Marvel, I guess.
I don't know. I hear about it, but I don't really, I don't know. It's always weird because it depends on what you yourself are searching. Maybe. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, in our Discord, I'll just say this. In our Discord, not a lot of they like it, they talk about it, then they don't.
It comes up every now and then.
Comes up
in the chats, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really too much to talk about in that game.
No, right? It works. It doesn't have any huge surprises, and the people who like Marvels or like hero shooters might enjoy it, and it's not going to.
Okay, Reg, does it have Cyclops as the
character Cyclops
character? Or
you just asked him, and he doesn't. I don't know if he even knows who Cyclops is.
No, but I'm pretty sure the answer is no.
Oh, okay.
The laser guy, laser in the eyes guy. No.
Yeah,
I'm like 95% sure.
Disappointed.
There's no.
Right.
Yeah. I would say for me, somebody was saying, what's the issue with hearing about good news in games? I don't know if he's saying good news. I think it's just like people are reporting on the new things, and I think that when you hear about Rivals because it's new and working, it's not too hard to hear about it a lot.
It's super popular,
and it's
right now on Steam. It's third place, right beneath the always mainstay top 2 ones.
Yeah. So I can see. I just don't notice that kind of stuff much anymore because there's so much news now too that I guess I don't. If I do see a Rivals thing, let's say if that was a game that I was tired of hearing of, I wouldn't even think I would. I would subconsciously just scroll past it.
I for sure, for example, have heard way more about Whaleguard. Like,
oh yeah,
infinitely more.
You mean like pure article talk?
Yes.
Yeah. That, like, if you want to talk about things talked about, I think just last week one of the gaming companies.
That game is popularity-wise leagues beneath Marvels, and I heard so much more about it.
Yeah.
Entire channels have come up and become big, just talking about Dragon Age Veilguard.
The same thing happened when Ubisoft started having issues. It was like entire channels were created just to bitch. I mean, entire video, like, what do you call it? If you have a channel, you can quite literally run a good financial, income by just bitching about Ubisoft.
Strategy.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. It's true. I would say also that I got that yesterday. I said something about Halo and id, and super positive. It was actually a really good comments section, but there were a couple people who were like, I'm tired of hearing about Halo, and I'm like, I feel like Halo's a ghost right now. I weirdly enough don't hear much about Halo, but there were people say, "Oh man, another story about Halo," and I was like, "Well, not for me because this is like the first news video I've done. First of all, for like 9 months, and we don't talk about Halo much. I mean,
No.
almost ever. I don't think it was even directed at me. They were just talking about how they get their news. Got to control your income of news, my friends. Like that's your best bet. Find yourself an aggregator and give it some filter rules so that you don't have to see shit you don't want to see. On the other hand, you might lose out on some cool data too. Speaking of that cool data, Johnny has his own channel where he streams or puts together videos on League of Legends, a game that is probably one of the best games of all time.
It's the most hidden gems.
It's one of those hidden gems.
Only a
absolutely
handful of people
missing
know
out.
about it.
You're missing out. You probably.
Absolutely.
I'm totally fine with missing out on this one. I've tried. Hey, but you are doing daily videos, right? Monday through Friday, you release a video. Go ahead and give people the address and all that jam.
Yeah, it's Johnny Plays on YouTube. So I'll write it down here. And you can just click my name and find me. Monday to Friday, there's a new commentary every day. And it's chill. I'm taking you through my thoughts as I play, talking about different matchups and stuff like that. And I hear it's pretty chill to listen to. So some people like to, just listen to that and chill.
The dulcet tones of Johnny. This is Johnny KEZI 71 playing League of Legends for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's it.
I have nothing like that. My next video will be, I'm trying to decide if I want to do a best of. We are only now in December. I saw a lot of early best ofs, and I need a little bit more time to think about it. So probably make one if I do prior to CES. Then you have CES. Then you have sort of a dead January. I'm going to try to review some games. Obviously, that's my job. But, it's what codes I can get. And if not, you'll see other news videos from me. I think I've sort of got the news idea down to where I can get news out. I think I was one of the first to do the Halo video version of the news because I really wanted to see how I could put together a video. That was fun to do. So you'll see more of those from me, but certainly, reviews, obviously. And Reg streams the occasional dev jam for you guys, right? On your channel?
Oh, yeah, but not on the channel. That's like...
Oh, that's internal in the Discord?
That's in the Discord.
Okay, gotcha.
Nope.
Do you have anything you can talk about with the game jam stuff you've been doing?
Yeah, it was pretty successful for our first one. We did it the first time now in November.
Mm-hmm.
We had, I think, 130 signups roundabout and 38 game submissions.
Damn. And how long do they have to make those games?
The 1 month of November.
So in 1 month, they need to make a game that's playable from start to fit. Damn.
Okay, so we provided some art assets and music. So a soundtrack of, I believe it was like 15 soundtracks that were made for the jam.
Mm-hmm.
People were free to use both of those. Or if they wanted to just create their own stuff. But starting with 1st of November, throughout the whole month.
38 damn games in 1 month. That's ridiculous.
And 38 games we got. And most of them actually didn't use our arts assets, but went full custom.
Really?
Damn.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Impressive.
have? Can you talk about this, or do you guys have an AI issue? Do you guys have rules
no
against
AI policy? Yeah.
No AI this time. Yeah.
No.
Okay. I'm wondering how hard that's going to be to accomplish in 2 years or something with AI.
Well, the problem is more that how hard it is to recognize. Because if someone
that's what I meant.
Now,
Sorry, that's what
right now uses AI, you can probably still pretty easily spot it and say, okay, disqualified.
Yeah.
As soon as it gets to a spot where you don't know, you'll probably have to start asking, like, okay, who drew this? Like, who is the artist?
How many fingers do they have on their hand, which still gets messed up? How many R's are in strawberry? But it's like once the hand thing gets fixed, and there's a bit of there's something about AI art where a lot of times, depending on if they don't fuck around with it and they just leave it, you can sort of tell. But we're starting to get ones that I saw, Flux in particular. I don't know if you've ever used Flux. I don't know what it is about Flux, but Flux can make a person, and they do a good goddamn job. Like, I was like, damn, that is straight up just a picture somebody took, you know? So we're definitely getting there with like family photos, you know, Instagram filters basically, but the entire thing is just, you know, the filter.
And
which
we didn't have
interesting.
like any like guardrails in regards of how long or how many words to have to be in your game.
Mhm.
What's the minimum, maximum, whatever. It was free range. The only thing it had to have some, at least some visual novel elements, because
That's what you guys are doing.
And it has to feature a bear character in the story somewhere.
That's
because
awesome.
It was November, you know.
Oh, I gotcha. November's Game Jam.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the idea of putting a bear in there anywhere could be awesome too. Like, I love the idea.
It was completely open. Like, if you wanted, so as example, just talk about painting with a bear on it, and that's like one of the story arcs. Totally fine. It just has to appear somewhere.
That kind of stuff's fun. Having one random element everybody has to figure out a way to put in the game. That's actually really cool. You can come up with some great ideas from that.
So the shortest game we got was just 500 words. So that's like a 6-minute read.
Yeah, that's pretty short.
On stream. And the longest was 20,000, which is a couple hours to read.
And since it's considered interactive novel or what have you, do they have to have choice or visual novel?
No, you don't have to.
You don't have to have choice. So you could just tell the story of like a kid who lost their family member, and it would just be okay.
Like, some of them were all out. They got together some YouTubers, etc. So they had all the assets, had all the custom art and everything, and effects, and went for 4 full routes that told the backgrounds of the characters. But most of them were one way through.
What game engine are they using for the most part? Do you know?
Most of them are RenPy.
What's it called?
RenPy.
RenPy? Okay.
That is a very specific made one. This is an engine that's good for visual novels and nothing else.
Oh, okay. So Godot or whatever, Godot or Godot.
Some use Godot. That's Unity and Godot are the other choices.
Are the primaries. Also, I want to give a shout out to a couple other people in our Discord. First is Amudski, who graduated after 4 or 5 attempts. So Amudski, congratulations. He finally got to walk down the old aisle and look like a Dragon Age character.
You guys still do that in America? Like you do the whole, like, you walk up with the hat and toss it.
A graduation ceremony? Sure.
Yeah,
for sure. If you can.
I mean,
you don't have to go.
When I graduated, we also did that in Austria here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I think the graduation ceremony is sort of, it's pretty important as a sense of accomplishment, and you can skip it for sure. But I mean, I think for the most part, most places have it or have an offering of some kind. But back to Amudski real quick, I just want to say congratulations to him, because he also made a game. They made a playable game, start to finish, for his last project, and I got to see it. He sent it to me and sent me a bunch of assets for it, and I got to say, I mean, it was a game, and that is not a diss. I actually mean, like, I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, somebody made a game. It actually worked. It did the stuff it was supposed to. It was a puzzle game. It actually had a weirdly enough interesting story, because story isn't my thing, but I was reading his sort of lore and stuff like that. But congratulations for him, because, dude, the number of people who do not stick it through, and he stuck it through 4 times, I think, before he got. Yeah, he's struggled because it's super hard
building right there.
Yep, and he did that. I want to say big thanks to him. Also, big thanks to Dev Guy, who helped me behind the scenes a bunch on different database stuff for the channel. It helped me throughout the years on all kinds of different stuff with like trying to figure out stuff in YouTube chat, just like Reg has before, trying to figure out weird shit that I've run into on YouTube. Those guys have been big helps. And and anybody else who jumps in and and chats in voice chat or chats in the normal Discord, big thanks to you guys. You made 2024 really, really fun for me. Probably the most fun I've had in YouTube. Even when YouTube doesn't do well or whatever, there's always a time where we're in there joking about the rest of the world. And it's like that place where I think everybody's going, with like Twitter having issues. You start to see almost message boards coming back, or I don't know what you would call it, but you start to see these groups, and those guys have made it fantastic, made it super enjoyable. And I'm not skipping everybody. It's just those two had popped into my head as people who've helped me in the past behind the scenes. that'll be it for us. Thanks to Reg for showing up to discuss 2024. Good, bad, ugly, disappointing.
After
Hopeful.
returning from Liechtenstein, or in this case, the photos are from Switzerland.
So, somebody like me, I'd think they're the same place. It is funny, though. That's almost why I didn't invite you, because your thing said in Liechtenstein. And I was like, I don't know if he's traveling or if it was a
that's
joke.
because I was just driving home today.
Oh, gotcha. But yeah, thanks to him for showing up. Thanks to Johnny, as always. Make sure to check out his channel, and you will see us in the next couple days and some videos on this channel as well. Peace out, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your week. Don't die.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Or if you do it spectacularly, like something amazing. Like if you're going to go out, I don't know, build an airplane.
You're not a fan of the just like die sleeping type thing?
Oh, no, I would. Speaking of that, we can end it there. Dude. If you had a choice, it would either be eaten by a shark after falling out of an airplane, because sharks get warm meals, I think, or should, or sleeping. Yeah. I don't know of any other. Do you guys remember years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, there was the myth that drowning was a pleasant way to die?
Oh, what?
Right.
That was for years. Oh, it's a pleasant way to die. And then you get these people coming back, who've drowned, and they brought them back, and they're like, dude, it was fucking horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, who would believe that?
Who would have ever thought that would be a comfortable way to die?
Yeah. True.
Anyway, don't die, everybody. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, we were laughing about that because one of the guys,
That makes no sense.